Dude, the viewership is scary. The people absolutely think you're going to break news on this show. That's very funny.
How many people are here?
I hit live and it said like 75. And I was like, oh no.
Oh, already? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's kind of scary. Hello, everyone. This is Hanging with Hulbert. We haven't done this in like only 2 weeks this time, right?
Oh, shit. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, we're heating up for the summer. But we are thrilled to be here as always. Ibou, you're a big star now. I mean, you kind of were already, but now you're like aggregated and shit. And
Yeah,
how's it feel, dude?
it's a little scary. I remember 2 years ago, I would just casually willy-nilly give news scoops and like no one gave a fuck. Now I'll be like, yeah, WWE officials were happy with this, and then like turn around and Cultaholic has made an article. And I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, I get aggregated now. I locked my account and somehow like gained 400 followers. I don't know how that. It's yeah, I don't know what's going on. There's people. I want to let people know first and foremost. People have been DMing me, Joe, like in my message requests, like, "Hey, bro, big fan of your tweets. I just want to know if you could let me in, right?" And it'll be like a faceless account with no Abby, no followers or whatever, right? And they expect me to find them in the sea of like 360 follower requests. Like, what do you want from me? You know, if it was like Instagram, where if you click, like, if you know on Instagram when someone follow requests you and you click their page, it shows it on their page. It says accept follow requests. That'd be much more easy. I gotta sift through this shit to find you. That's not happening.
It's very funny that you have like kind of exploded as a scoop star as a private account. It's like the most incredible because honestly, dude, imagine what your mentions and your DMs would look like if you were not on private right now. Like the Lucha Bros. We don't need to get into it a lot, but good lord, my goodness.
Dude, I had AEW wrestlers reaching out to me like, you all right, man? I'm like, what? And they're like, bro, it's crazy right now what they're saying about you. I'm like, I'm not seeing any of it. I didn't even see it. And they're like, all the Penta stuff. And then like inevitably in this conversation, Joe genuinely they go, Penta's lying, by the way. I'm like, I know. I fucking know. Like, yeah, bro, sorry about that, dude. I'm like,
yeah. It terrifies me, dude. But I mean, it is what it is, you know. It was cool that Sean had the like backup story yesterday.
Yes, you know? Yes, that came in very clutch, actually.
Very, very much so.
Because anyway, I was trying to put my faith. Yeah, I was trying to put my faith in wrestling fans to be able to like kind of just read between the lines of wrestler speak. But none of them were able to do that. They were just in replies like, "Yeah, let's fucking go, Penta. Yeah, cook him." I'm like, all right.
It's a game, unfortunately. I don't think it's ever going to change.
Oh no, yeah.
We're not here to do reporting, right? We're not here to do that. That's not what this show is. This is.
I was told this is going to be some serious, pertinent wrestling conversation and you know some info dumps and some scoops. That's what I thought this was.
It may be some of those things. I don't expect it to be. It might be, but I'm pretty confident this is actually going to be about nothing at all. Honestly, I don't think anything's going to be achieved here. Actually,
no, absolutely not.
Just wrestling talk, isn't it?
Words are just going to be spoken for about 90 minutes, and then we're going to get the fuck out of here.
So, you know the G1 Climax? Have you heard of it?
Yeah, it's a cool little tournament they do in Japan.
Do you remember when we were young and Hiroki Goto was just a grappler that we all took for granted in the sport of professional wrestling, and we all kind of went, he's good, but, you know, and then we'd criticize him, kind of do backhanded compliments. We'd use the word solid. And then in 2024, you watch like a G1 match, and it's very apparent that he's in the top 5 wrestlers in the whole promotion. It's kind of sick, right? Like,
it's like it makes you wonder. Like, did I take him for granted? Do the grapplers now just suck, or is it a combination of both?
Yeah. Dude, his match with Finley was like really good, really good.
Great. He's been great the whole tournament, Joe. He had a good one with Yuya. He had a good one with oh man, his Takeshita match I think is my favorite of the tournament.
Wow. Was the Gabe Zack Sabre Jr. match as good as the cage match said? I haven't seen it yet.
Did you hear what Dave said about it? He said this match is like Steve Austin versus Bret Hart. I want you to guess my star rating of this match, Joe.
3.5.
No. I give it a 4. Yeah, I give it a 4. I think it's the best Gabe Kidd match of the tournament. It was great, but it's like four.
What's the comp like? The brawler versus the. What's he going for there? I'm intrigued, Dave.
They brawled on the outside. It's just a lot of punching and hitting each other hard, not a lot of sequences, and then a submission at the end where Gabe really just refused to tap out. And I went surf on the surface, yes, Dave, but come on,
Wow. So if we're gonna go star ratings on this show, what's the highest G1 star rating thus far for this year?
From Dave or me?
From you, yeah, Dave.
I went 4.5 on Goto Takeshita because it gave me 2010s New Japan nostalgia in the closing stretch. It had a very similar vibe of just kind of that hot closing stretch with the escalating drama and counters and all that fun stuff. Under that, I went 4.25 on I think 2 or 3 matches. One of which was Yuya Uemura versus Takeshita night 4 main event, which I thought was excellent. I had to go through to look again at some of the other ones, and then beyond that, it's like a big sea. It's a gigantic sea of like the next best stuff is like a gigantic sea of like very good.
Yeah, but it seems like it's been productive at least, which honestly is more important at this point, right, than just churning out spreadsheet hits. So
I was talking to AO about this because he felt it was the best G1 of this decade, and I was thinking about it, and I was saying how like the G1s from like the previous 2 to 3 years, they had higher peaks because you had like Will Ospreay,
right?
And Will Ospreay versus like the better wrestlers, like with Zach or with Okada, like you produce like ridiculous stuff, right? But these tournaments are much more steady and have higher, like they don't have the lows of those G1s because you don't have Tangaloa or Chase Owens or Toriano, but. With that said, yeah, it's a steadier tournament. It's a tournament where you're trying to see which young guy is going to like themselves separate themselves from the pack. And I think we've learned a lot. Not all positive, but I think we've learned a lot and we've gotten a lot of clarity as to where these people are at, to be honest with you. And I think, personally speaking, and this is like just legitimate, I think that Yota Tsuji has kind of made it these things I already saw, but I think he's made it very clear what his actual weaknesses are. And now that people are just kind of seeing him more up close, like frequently, they're being exposed to them, the weaknesses as well.
Yeah.
And but nevertheless, even with those though, right? He's not like horrendous. It's just you're seeing some of those like flaws.
He's got ways to go.
Then there's Shota Umino, who's had a calamitous tournament, Joe.
You're really happy about that, aren't you? Be honest. You're really happy. Be honest, it's fine. You're just sitting there, you're reading the tweets, popping huge. It happens to the best of us. You use the word calamitous, bro. You're so happy.
I may have a grin on my face right now. It is what it is,
It is what it is. Did you hear, by the way, that my lookalike, Walker Stu, who I think's done a great job from what I've heard.
Walk Stu.
Did you see when he slid in that line about Takeshita where he was like, some people are not sure he should even go back to AEW? That was pretty slick, dude.
He's also been like slick liking and retweeting certain tweets like, hey man, maybe New Japan should just keep this fucker,
I mean, would it not be sick if he was the ace of New Japan Pro Wrestling? Pretty sick, man.
It'd be fucking great. He fits perfectly. I feel like he has to like notice, like, man, they like me here. This is awesome. Yeah. I do wonder what's like, is AEW going to take this G1 run seriously in the sense like, will this change anything about his trajectory, or is he just going to slot right back into the Don Callis family? So that's going to be interesting to monitor and see how that evolves. Yeah, I did catch that line, even though I got to be honest with you, Joe, I don't watch any Japanese wrestling with English commentary.
Yeah, to be honest, and I like Walker, and I think Walker's done a really good job. And honestly, for his age, he's like a prodigy, if we're being real. But you're still correct that if you're going to watch professional, especially if you're watching something from like Korakuen Hall, come on. All
those, Oh yeah, I don't want to be mean.
It's just you don't need to do the impression. It's just if you know, there's something it does to you. You know, there's something it does to you. It changes you. It turns you into a monster. It's very special.
Oh, Joe, I caught up to the N1, and it's funny. The first night of the Noah's N1 tournament was fucking scary because, like, it was cacophonous in there, and like the vibe was awful, and it was darkly lit. And I was like, oh shit, this tournament's gonna suck. and I felt like I committed to a bad bit because I tweeted. Ash won't let me hear the end of this, but before the tournaments began, I said, man, this looks better than G1. And then Ash was just like, you fucking piece of shit. You have to watch this first N1 night. Go watch that fucking show. And I'm like, all right. And I'm watching. I'm like, oh, shit. And I can deal with, like, the cacophony for the first 3 matches. And halfway through, I'm like, I can't do this. I can't finish the show.
Dude, that is the most you thing ever. Like, just looking at the lineup and being like, well, clearly this is going to be better than the G1. This is obviously going to be a great tournament and everything's going to go great.
and then Joe, before the tournament begins, fucking Go Shiozaki is injured, and you're like, fuck. And then so I night 1 stinks. It doesn't stink, but it just has really bad vibes, right? And then I'm like, fuck, we're cooked. And then days pass before the next night, right? And you know what they do, Joe? 3 consecutive nights in Corkin Hall, and it's like
game changer.
Life was breathed into this tournament because out of nowhere, all these shows rule, every one of them. And the best stuff on it was just as good as the best stuff on the G1. And with a lot of grapplers that are my kind of speed, Joe. A lot of big, burly, barrel-chested bastards, a lot of big fuckers just throwing lariats, standing and banging.
See, do you think we're going in different... We're friends, obviously,
yes.
but do you think we're going in different directions with our stylistic preference? Because it feels like you're going towards what I'm running away from,
The thing is, I'm not describing red chest wrestling. I'm not. What I'm describing is that hard Japanese Haas wrestling. It's it's like the type of shit that would have been in 0-1 during the Hashimoto days.
That's fair.
Just the type of shit Daisuke Sekimoto or Yuji Okabayashi would do. Just that kind
That's
of.
fair.
I'm talking Manabu Soya. I'm talking Masakita Miya. That kind of shit. Elio del Dr. Wagner Jr. He's a big burly luchador. He's the type of luchador you haven't seen in Japan since the fucking 80s.
He's so awesome. He's so good, dude.
Yeah, he trades holds. He's big. He does power slams. And then you might get a little bit of an arm drag or a Rana, but that's not it's a little bit of a feature. It's very different, Joe, than red chest wrestling, which, you know what I noticed about you, Joe? It's grossing you out so much, it's affecting your star ratings. It's really funny.
How do you mean? Was there a criminal one that I slid in? Because I post so many at once, I can slide them in now. I've noticed. Yeah, don't get away with it.
You would have given Kaiser Sheamus a different rating a year ago. But because you're so mad at this genre, you're like, I just got to take a quarter off. I just got.
And my review is like very quietly, like very passive aggressive, and kind of took a shot at the match while praising it. I was like, "It's a banger quote, banger."
It was very. It felt like you were protesting. Like
I was.
And I read it. I'm like, come on, you got to give Sheamus the leeway. At least let him do it. Let
you're right.
Like, at least look. It's one thing if it's two fucking jabroni bastards. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. You're right.
You gotta let Sheamus do Sheamus shit. Because he's one of the the pioneers in the States of this. Like you gotta.
Yeah. It's just that McAfee, they have McAfee talking about bangers on. It's like, fuck, man, like, just leave me alone. Can't you talk about who you want to win or something, or who's gonna win? Like, it's a banger. It's like, oh god.
You know what it is, Joe? It's so McAfee's trying. So I actually got told about this. Like, he's trying to learn more about wrestling fan culture because he's an outsider, right? Mm. And he clearly has just been taking cursory glances at wrestling Twitter. He said Cook in a different match.
This always sounds very unfortunate. It really
does. Oh, they're cooking now, Cole. They're cooking now.
Good Lord. Can we talk about, you talk about the best big men and big burly fuckers in wrestling. Can we talk about one of the top guys right now, please, if that's okay with you?
Bronson Reed?
Yes, but I want to talk about Tangaloa.
Oh, hell yeah.
This is a sincere question, and I never ask you for scoops or anything like that on this show. Genuinely. Can you figure out if there's if it's a meta bit at this point? It's a genuine question now.
Oh, I asked about that a few weeks ago, and you know what I got told? So the person basically explained to me when WWE wants to make something a thing, they're really on the nose about it, right? And in the case of Tangaloa, it turned into this inside don't make it too obvious. Basically, this is the best way I can explain it. He pops the office by being a sincere dumbass, right? And they don't want to make him try to be a dumbass because then it undercuts the bloodline. But they love just how much of a screw up he is. So it's he's not doing this on purpose, but they are aware of what's going on with him, and they find it very funny, and they are actively hoping it continues.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. I hope Tangaloa is okay. He looks very scared, so I hope he's okay. Shout out to Tangaloa.
He's afraid of his shadow now.
Yeah, you can tell, dude. It's it kind of, obviously he's, don't cry for Tangaloa. He's in the main event angle in wrestling, really purely just due to circumstance. So it's worked out okay. But good Lord, it is. It kind of gives me anxiety watching him. I can't lie. It's he looks terrified.
You know the moment where he botched the low blow at I think Money in the Bank?
Yeah.
So when he walked back to the curtain, he was apparently super apologetic and beating himself up, and they're all just howling with laughter. And they're like, no, you're good, man. Don't worry about it. And he's like, no, I fucked up. I really fucked up, man. I fucking stink. And they're like, nah, dude, it's fine. It's totally okay. And he was just so sad.
He seems like a really good dude. Really, really good dude.
Apparently he's super, super duper nice.
Yeah, that was always his rep. But yeah, I don't know, man. He's had an interesting run. The reason I asked was because it's it kind of felt like the way he was in the Roman angle, it kind of felt like he was playing the role of the sort of the dipshit henchman in the movie.
Yes.
Yes. That's how he came across.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man.
When Roman destroyed the Gorillas of Destiny, it just felt sometimes when wrestlers go through entire stables, it's man, that's kind of implausible or whatever, right? When Roman destroyed God, I didn't bat an eye. I'm yeah, that's exactly what Roman should do to God. It just felt that's exactly that's literally exactly what he should do. Which begs the question now, Joe, because have you been seeing the recent reporting around Jacob Fatu?
I have, and I always believed that was the case, even if it was me trying to be hopeful. That's the big match, dude. That's the match.
It really does kind of feel like Solo is just some shit to kind of warm Roman back up in the interim and tie up some loose ends, and Jacob's the big one before Dwayne, which is interesting.
That match, babyface Roman, the OTC, and Jacob Fatu. I mean, that's one of the most compelling matches in the game right now. I think, to be honest with you, that could be spectacular.
It was pegged for Bad Blood, and they're trying to figure out if they want to keep it there, because certain people backstage, William Regal, he basically was saying why don't we hold that one off and have Jacob just kill everybody else, and you bring that to Mania season. And he's appealing to Hunter's sensibilities, because Hunter he'll take any excuse to hold a match off. He's probably looking at him sweating you think so? And he's yeah. He's oh, let's go. Let's fucking move that bitch over. But
wow.
Yeah, Roman wants to do it at Bad Blood. Also, don't aggregate this, guys. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a secret here. No one's listening. This will probably bite me in the ass, but please don't aggregate.
Most certainly, yeah.
Yeah. You guys didn't expose me for the no more LED barricades thing, and then it happened. So that's nice. All right, I'll give you guys another one here. So, for the longest time, Punk was supposed to work Drew McIntyre in a Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood. And apparently Roman Reigns, Joe, because he doesn't know what the fuck's going on with the rest of this card. But he came back and he was all right, so me and Jacob in the cell at Bad Blood. no one had the guts to be like, "Hey, we're already going to do a cell match," and so they basically like, "Yes, sir." And apparently Hunter was leaning over to Punk like, just picture a guy like kind of stroking his forehead. You think you could make it work with just like a no DQ or like you think you could do you need a cage? Do you need a cage?
This is definitely getting aggregated, dude. The day that we see like a link and it says on hanging with Hulbert is the end.
Yeah, it's over. I'll never do this show again. The bottom line is keep an eye on that developing situation. Because Hunter doesn't want to do 2 cell matches. He thinks that's gross. So
he's right. He is correct.
I'll put it to you. Listen, Joe. He thinks doing 2 of the same step matches on one show is gross. And he once told people backstage in like 2022, I think it was, he was like, would people call me misogynistic if I just didn't do the women's War Games match? And then they were like, yeah. And he was like, fuck.
All right. So anyway, this is going to go very poorly. I'm telling you now. Okay. All right.
No, I trust in the JHP audience, you know.
I'm not worried about the JHP audience. I'm worried about whoever else is lurking.
I was just sitting. I mentioned something last year. I was just watching Casino too, and so now I just picture like the feds that are just kind of like fucking doing a lip reading from like the windows and shit, and, like, in the bushes. Because these people that aggregate me in real time, Joe, I'm like, you watch Worldwide? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, man. People know once you get added to a list of like wrestling news people, they're gonna listen. It's like you see sometimes reports about stuff Sean said on like random solo Q&As he does. It's just.
It makes me laugh, Joe, because I'm like, some of these pods, I'm not talking about shit for like 50 minutes. And like they had to listen to me talking about like just absolute
the Knicks.
Just bullshit. And then like they're just sitting there like, oh, get to the fucking news back of Hangman. Oh my God. You know. So
this is all gonna end up with me getting whacked, I fear. I have to be honest.
I was gonna say, is it gonna be me or you getting whacked? Like,
no, it's because you got too much power, and it sends you a message if I get whacked. I think.
I come back like Joe, we're doing a new show, and like I'm just not. Oh my God.
Let's do. We have some super chats for some reason. We haven't even really looked at the chat. But we have some, so let's get to those, folks. Like the video, that helps us if you're gonna. No, don't aggregate, but like the video. All right. Cal,
why do we have 253 people watching this on YouTube?
Yeah, that's the scary part. Cal, thoughts on Big Bronson Reed? Big, he's very big. He's kind of, I don't know, man. Has he arrived? Has he made it to the dance? What do you reckon,
Joe?
Big Brom Reed?
This kid's real, bro. This kid's real.
This kid's
real. This kid. Oh, I'll give you another one. No one's gonna aggregate this. No one's gonna aggregate this because no one cares. Arn Anderson brought him up at SummerSlam. He was just like, he told Hunter like, "You guys gotta fucking get going with Bronson Reed."
So he's to blame.
And Hunter was just nodding and looking serious. He's like, "No, we're on that. Trust me. No, we're on that."
I get the impression that when Triple H has those conversations, everything is like really severe, and everything is delivered with the utmost. It's just everything is very serious.
It was conveyed to me that like Hunter came off like he really respects Arn's opinion, like he takes it super serious, and like looked at him as like an elder. I know he does the same with Regal. Like when Regal gives his takes and stuff, like he almost like defers to him a little bit. Interestingly, and apparently he did the same with Arn. Like Arn's just like, "Come on, kid, push Bronson Reed." And he's like, no, yeah, we're gonna do that, Arn. Like, I got you, Arn. So
Triple H is a horseman mark, right? I think he'd be the first to say that. Like, I am too. I don't mean it as a knock. It's just like he did the spine buster. Like I think that makes sense. Bronson, in all seriousness, Bronson Reed is doing well.
Yeah.
He had a great angle last week. I thought the match with Miz was very well agented, and they put in some time without killing Bronson Reed's momentum. And the post match was good. So good for
Oh
him, dude.
man, Joe. When that match began, I was like, I got a little scary. I got a little violent. I wanted him to tear these guys apart. I was begging for a Miz write-off, and I got Truth, and I was like, I'll take it. I'll take it. You know, I'll take our, I'll take it.
It was good angle. Good angle.
I want him to just eradicate every annoying character on this show. To be completely honest with you, you know who could use Bronson Reed, Joe, to just kind of do some cleanup on the roster. Friday Night SmackDown. Like, just imagine, Joe, you're watching SmackDown, the Pretty Deadly are out there with A-Town Down Under. And he goes 2 minutes to a DQ, and this big motherfucker just tsunamis everybody, you know?
It's very interesting that you named those two teams and not another team. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. I see what you're doing.
There is one great team on SmackDown that you just don't give them the respect they deserve.
I've always given the Good Brothers the respect they deserve. They're four-time IWGP champs, bro.
Joe, you know they're wrestling next week?
Huh?
They're wrestling next week on NXT. On NXT.
Oh, on NXT. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
They're facing Hank and Tank.
Dude, I think they've finished their run like 3 times, and then Sean just brings them back. I'm pretty sure of this.
So what happens is they genuinely think like this is the wrap up, and then Sean he just calls them next week like, hey, you want to do this? And they're like, yeah.
Yeah. That was kind of my sort of broad read, because the one with the match they did with Mia, where it was like who would they do it with? Jada Parker's group?
Yeah, the OTM. That felt like the end of the deal.
Yeah, because Mia's not been back, right? That's like
no.
That was So I think they're just doing NXT, and then I guess when AJ comes back, which we assume is now
imminent.
We assume it's Friday, really, right? Or like next Friday? It's gotta be soon.
Yeah, it's gonna be soon. They just didn't want to do it on SmackDown.
Yeah, so I assume then it will. I mean, maybe they'll put over. I know they're big fans of old Hank and Tank. Do you reckon they'll put them over before they go out the territory? What do you reckon? That'd be fun.
They may get rolled up and then may do that goofy like, oh shit, he got me, and then they just do a second one. They may want to work these kids in a series, you know.
They've worked 2 matches on SmackDown this year, I think, and both of them they've got rolled up like that. Like Triple H doesn't use them on TV, but he protects them in case they have to work Noah or something like that. I don't know.
It's so weird. He doesn't use them that much, but he weirdly like respects the Good Brothers. It's very good.
Like, do you remember they had that match with Fury and Waller, and it was like 3 minutes, and they just beat the shit out of these 2 brothers, and then they got rolled up.
Yes. Oh, it was so sick. Carl Anderson was going insane in those 3 minutes. Oh my god! Another funny. When I hear about these conversations, I'm always howling. Like apparently, like the night of the Gauntlet or something. I'm surprised I didn't mention this on Talking Shop. But like Carl Anderson like looked Hunter in the eye, and like Hunter gave him like a serious look in the eye, and he's just like, "How are the kids over there?" And he's just like, "Oh, they're great, brother. Like they're fucking great." And he's like, "Yeah. Who's catching your eye?" You know? It's just like.
Well, we've talked about much more important stuff, so we can do this. But my understanding is that like Triple H he's a big believer in the mechanics of the machine gun, the fundamentals we're talking here.
Yeah,
skillful. That's my understanding. That's the case, correct?
They wouldn't backstage. They wouldn't stop talking about how he was trained when he first came back in 2022. Who is this? Who trained him again?
He was Roger Ruffin. Roger Ruffin was his trainer because Roger was
wasn't him.
Was Les Thatcher's understudy. I believe Les Thatcher is who they believe it's all about.
Is there any maybe because there was another name? It's escaping me right now, but there was another name they kept fucking saying when he would wrestle.
The reason I reckon it was Les because Les he had like one of the developmental territories at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. But yeah, remember he beat Dame Priest on Raw.
No,
he did. He had a match with Finn. The match with Finn, the famous Starrcade match, and his reward for that match was he beat Damian Priest on Raw.
It kind of shows you how much it's changed when it comes to like the hierarchy of things in that nation.
Dude, you know, it's come a long way, bro. Long way.
Trust me, dude. I watched a little bit of the Damian Priest documentary yesterday.
Good.
Yeah, and it was good. It made me realize I don't know anything about his life. So I'm watching this thing, and like he was in and out of wrestling in the independents because like he didn't have enough money to pay for his own travel or his gear and stuff, and he got robbed at one point. And like he was living in a car, and like they broke into his car and like just robbed all this shit in there, and that was where he was living. and like it was a pretty miserable existence, and he was fat and depressed and shit. And I was looking at like the early Punishment Martinez footage, and I'm like, man, he really did come a long way, admittedly. And like they were talking about his early call up and how like he didn't know who the fuck he was when he was on the main roster initially, and he was just kind of doing what he felt like he was supposed to do and stuff. And it, you know, what really hit me was the Judgment Day was really a collection of people that were not clicking on TV. People, when you look at Rhea now, like it's oh yeah, she's a superstar. Remember Rhea Ripley like on the main roster in like 2021, 2022?
Oh, dude, Vince didn't get her. Like, she was teaming with Nikki and stuff. It was weird.
It was so weird. Yeah, like the other thing was, I don't know how much you saw of her TV promos, but she was like terrified.
Yeah.
She was absolutely.
Yeah, they got confidence because they're actually friends and they really, it's cool, man. It's a really cool act, to be honest. It's a great story. It's probably the biggest triumph of Triple H's regime, I think.
So that's the thing. I remember, I think Fightful made a post about like Judgment Day is over now and like what a good stable. And people were like, nah, fuck the Judgment Day. They sucked. And I thought about it. I'm like, regardless of wherever you land, they got like a bunch of people over. You know? Like they got 100%. A ton of people over. So.
Absolutely. What does this mean? It says Fum now implies the existence of the Ibou corpse. Is that like comic book talk?
Yeah, probably because I'm on Deadpool and like, you know, there's a whole force in it and shit. So I suppose so. Ibou corpse sounds very scary.
It does. Thank you, Cal. Don't aggregate that part either, folks.
We should make that a hanging with Hulbert rule in general. Don't aggregate any of this fucking podcast. we do not sign off on it.
Dude, the inevitable thing that's going to happen is this is going to become the actual paywall show, but purely for your protection and mine. I think I'm now in the fire line. So, oh no, he's left in fear. They got him, folks. It appears they've got him in the midst of our program here. He's back. I thought they got you, bro. I thought you.
They got me, Joe. The black SUVs. They got me. Oh my! I started hearing the Howdy theme. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, you're right. This is gonna end up being like the fucking show that like has the guards at the door and shit like that. You know.
Be very funny. All right. Mid takes. Mid takes. Is Axiom the clear Jannetty of the tag team, and also is All In going to be a debut or return fest?
I don't think it's going to be a debut or return fest. I do think there's a couple key. I don't think it's going to be like a trillion surprises. I think there's going to be a couple key ones. Axiom, this is a nuanced answer for a question that needs to be more nuanced because I actually think he's an excellent professional wrestler. But what you do have to be aware of is upside on the main roster based on like what works there and the rhythms and booking patterns. I think that Nathan Fraser as a solo act, if he got like the spotlighted WWE production Triple H push that like a Bronson Reed or a Braun Breaker is getting with the presentation and everything, I think he could be like the next hot new Seth Rollins type over there because he's that explosive and he jumps off the page, and he could talk. He's actually like charming and funny and shit. Axiom, I think, is like not far behind him as a wrestler, but he is like very small, you know, and I think outside of a tag team, he would struggle on the main roster for being truthful. So I think it depends on if they come up together or not. But yeah, then again, I think about this, Joe, and people always say like, this guy's a Jannetty, this guy's a Jannetty. Marty Jannetty was a great wrestler.
That's the thing. He was a great wrestler.
Yeah, so like I do think about that sometimes too, because like people will throw that at just like the guy on a tag team that's like clearly just like way worse in every way. Whereas in Marty's case, it's just, you know, things happen and he couldn't reach the stardom of Shawn Michaels, but he was also a very, very good wrestler. So I don't know, man. If Axiom and Fraser get called up together, I mean, they'd be a massive aid to any show they're on. I get the sneaking suspicion they're going to just take Fraser by himself because he does have like superstar upside, in my opinion.
Yeah, why didn't that be a mistake though? Why rush? You know, get
honestly,
over his team and then you can do stuff.
Joe, they're slowly becoming like quietly the main event babyface act of NXT, the broadcast.
Right. But I think they could help look at the tag divisions, right? I mean, good Lord.
Exactly. Yeah, dude. You know? Now, man, you call them up with, and they're facing, you know, your boy Pentagon Jr. and Ray Phoenix, for example.
Your boy.
Yeah. Last night, Fraxium, they lost the tag titles against Chase U. It was a rematch of the Heatwave match, and that was a show you skipped out on. But the Chase U Fraxium match at that show which I remember when I first saw the graphic of that, I was like, that's like what I think I called it whack or mid. And that's actually my WWE match of the year on Heatwave.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And this rematch, obviously, it's the TV cut, and instead of Duke Hudson, it's Ridge Holland, and it's the best performance of Ridge Holland's career. He he's like really he was a guy that like I like pieces of him, but he kind of just put it together in that performance. And I thought it was an excellent match in the main event. And I wonder what's gonna happen with Fraser and Axan, but I think they're so fucking good.
Yeah, they're a really good team. I actually do want to watch the Heatwave one. I do want to watch that at some point, but that's one of those things that more distance is needed, because you were very aggressive about it, so I need to give it time.
You know what kind of freaked me out was I gave it a 4.5 and thought it was the WWE match of the year. So I'm like, all right, by the way this usually works with the rules, Dave is going to give this 5 because that's how this works, And then he gave it 4.5 too. And I got freaked out. I was like, am I overrating this? Because Dave gave it 4.5. I was like, no, this doesn't work. This doesn't make sense. We're never on the same page.
It feels like Dave rates the NXT matches at a different clip than the main roster matches now. It feels like that to me nowadays. It wasn't that way back in the black and gold era, but it feels that way now to me anyway. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
That's a great point, Joe, because when he talks about the women's matches over there, there is almost this like he's not trying to be smug, but it is almost kind of like there's almost that vibe of like, these are just lesser wrestlers that don't really know what they're doing type of a thing. So when they kind of mildly impress him, he's like, all right, for your little experience, though, that was all right. 3 stars.
Oh, Dave. Bruh says, found out Chad Gable and Jeff Cobb both wrestled at 188 pounds at the Olympics. And now I need to see Gable meet him at like 245 or whatever Cobb weighs. That would be something, wouldn't it?
Joe, that Jeff Cobb, he's been pretty good in this tournament, to be honest, in the G1.
So what is this what's happened here with this Jeff? Because you were the biggest just detractor of Jeff Cobb that I know. And now you've done this quiet turnaround in Cobb takes. What's happened? When did this happen? Is it just the G1 or was it before that?
He's kind of shed the Reseda out of him. Like he's not trying to do Ranas and shit, Like he's getting older. You got to be more selective of how you wrestle, and that's resulted in him stripping away the things that I didn't particularly like from him ever. Does that make sense?
I think so. Yeah, it feels a little bit underhanded that you wasn't more upfront with it. You kind of just try to sneak it by us. I feel
he stopped shooting threes. He stopped trying to take the ball up the court. He's demanding it on the block, and it's led to him being a more efficient player.
I respect that. I mean, I like Jeff Cobb well enough. I mean, he had that cool recently. Remember when him and Joe went face to face, and the crowd was like, they actually saw it as a big deal, kind of. That was pretty neat. So,
but then they didn't do anything with it. We didn't
Well, you got to make space for the Jericho stuff, and you got priorities.
He's you know what he's doing at Wembley, right?
Chris Jericho.
Yeah, you know what he's doing.
Hook.
He's probably going to work Hook, which is interesting. I just assumed everybody in the Jericho versus last month was going to be in a big arena brawl. Maybe
they will. The Hook thing is I guess Hook needs to get the belt back. I guess that's the main thing, right? Which, I mean, who cares? But I guess that's the idea.
It just, I don't know, man. Who cares about the FTW title?
When he wins it back, he needs to just retire it, right? He needs to retire it.
I think that's what he should do. And I don't know if I revealed this to you, Joe. Taz is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And, I love Taz. This belt, when they brought it back to AEW as a device to help Brian Cage, I actually supported it. I was like, that's really cool. And even when Ricky Starks had it and shit, or when they used it to elevate Hook, when Hook did the surprise challenge on Ricky, that was cool. At this point, it has no reason for existing.
Yeah, not all. It's an active crutch for Hook too. It's a shame.
Yeah.
Crown says the Brits don't deserve shit. They're protesting Brian Danielson main event takeaway. They're all in. Sorry, Joe. Love you. Well, I mean, yeah, that's look. I will say this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, I do think it's good people feel strongly about this. I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't really, but I think it's good that people do it. It's always a good sign. You never want apathy.
Mm-hmm.
My gut feeling is that most people that are campaigning for Hangman are probably correct. I don't think it will matter when Wembley when Final Countdown hits at Wembley. I think they'll be okay, more than okay. I think it'll be great. The one thing I would say personally is I do not think they have done a great job of like actually, you know, telling the story of Danielson title versus Chris. That's a very big stipulation, very big.
Mm-hmm.
And the kind of, I guess, the temperament of Danielson and the fact that he's like, he seems like he's kind of ready to. It's a very strange. It's weird. I don't know.
He seems like he's ready for vacation.
Yeah, it's just a weird. It's a weird kind of vibe to the whole thing. I think Swerve's performance has been great in the angle. Danielson has obviously, you know, great moments in anything he does, but it just feels like it could be a bit more focused. That's my main issue. But I mean, I'm certainly not protesting. I'm excited to be there at Wembley Stadium, and I'm locked in.
I think that's a fair point because people are upset that they're not getting the match that they want, right? And it's like, so now it's your job as promotion to sell them like, no, what you want is not what you actually want. You want this, right? But they're actually just kind of going, nah, it's this. This is a stipulation. And Danielson's just doing these interviews where he's like, yeah, I don't know, my neck hurts, and we'll see what happens. And I'll retire if I have to, JR, you know? And Swerve's just like, I'll kill him. And it's like, okay, like, I don't know.
Because it doesn't feel like Dragon is. It doesn't feel like he's truly fighting for his career. It feels like he's just on his last legs regardless, you know? Like, the reason the Flair-Shawn thing was so great was because the character Ric Flair, and honestly the real person Ric Flair, had no intention of retiring.
Exactly.
He loved wrestling. So, yeah, I don't know. It's
Flair was very defiant about it. And
yes,
he was going to go down swinging, and he was doing those promos where he's like, I'll never retire and shit. And, you know, Shawn Michaels is calling him Old Yeller. I don't know if you've ever seen that promo segment. It's incredible.
Yes.
But calls him Old Yeller, and Ric Flair starts slapping the shit out of him, and he's like, Old Yeller, and he's like, fucking take me out, you know. He's taking his clothes off and shit. And Shawn is just super calm, and he's just like, I'm just gonna take you out, you know. And like, it's that sad like reality thing where it's like Shawn's probably right, and he's gonna do it, and the audience knows it, but Ric Flair refuses to take it, and that's why in the match, like when it starts to set in that like this is a game you're gonna lose, Rick. He starts to kind of like really just resort back to like the stuff he knows, and he has his fists up, and he's just not gonna let it. He's not gonna go quietly into the night. It's perfect. So that's the thing. That was the temperament there, and then Bryan Danielson's just kind of like, yeah, I had a great career, and like, you know, I love my family, and I don't mind coming back, and I don't know, we'll see what happens, JR. You know, and Swerve was just like, I'm gonna smoke this dude.
The part that scares me, to be honest with you, is I'm not even sure. I said this on Grapple last night, which go check out, folks. I love the powers of Grapple, but I don't think Danielson's working nearly as much as people think he is when he talks about his neck situation, which is like a hilarious like Boy Who Cried Wolf situation where I think everything he says, everyone goes, "Oh, here he goes again." I think Dragon's like. I think he's going to be wrestling as much as he hoped to as part-time. I could be wrong on that. I don't know. I don't know what you know either, because we haven't even spoke about that as far as I don't think so.
His neck problems are a complete shoot.
Yeah, that's what everyone says. And it's like, obviously the response to that is working, but it's like, it's kind of hilarious is the wrong word. It's ironic though, right? That like, there's a lot of truth actually, I think his outlook on this kind of part-time chapter of his career is actually very different. Than what he originally intended or imagined. For now, we'll see what happens, obviously, but hopefully Dragon is well. Regarding Flair and Shawn, the thing that everyone forgets about that match, because it's so tremendous, is how bad Rick was his matches before that one. Like, I don't know if you've ever watched them back, but he works like MVP.
I remember the MVP one.
Kennedy. He does a tag with Punk that is like very bad on ECW TV.
Really?
Really bad match. Yeah, like kind of falls apart.
I vaguely remember like a tag match with Shawn Michaels on SmackDown with a steel cage, I think. I've never watched it back. It's just something I remember seeing in real time. Maybe I'm hallucinating. I remember there being a cage, and I remember Flair bleeding and it being on SmackDown.
I think that happened, but I think that's prior. I could be completely wrong. Actually, I don't know. That definitely is that's a real match that you're talking
Someone look
about.
this up on Cage Match and tell me I'm correct, because I feel like this. Because
Yeah.
Joe, genuinely, I never watched this back. I'm drawing back memory from 08 here.
It's a real match. Yeah, someone can tell us in chat what match that was. But yeah, here it is. Okay, so it probably is from that era or that time because it's 4-on-2. Handicap steel cage. Chavo Hawkins, Edge, and Ryder versus Flair and Shawn. 15 minutes. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So then I'm right then, because I remember this
Yeah.
being a Mania season SmackDown, and that sounds like a Mania season SmackDown match then.
Yeah, because they were together at that time, weren't they?
La
What did
Familia.
they call them? There
La
you go.
Familia.
Yeah.
The member that no one remembers is Bam Neely, who was this bald guy who was a Chavo.
He was Chavo's heater, right?
Yeah, he was terrible. Yeah, La Familia. It was just this big group. You had the Edge heads, Chavo, Bam Neely, and Vicky Guerrero was like the corrupt GM. So yeah.
Do you know that Shelton was supposed to be Shelton's title run, the Chavo one on ECW? Shelton was supposed to be the ECW champ. Did you know that?
I didn't, but that makes total sense, and that's
yeah.
They ended up doing his like a year later.
It kind of lines up because like Chavo's title win came out of nowhere, so it does make sense. It was very impromptu. And Jen said, "What happened to starting with like a prep?" Well, you know, copyright and things of that nature. But you could imagine, you could like do a fan edit if you want and just attach it to the front, post on different YouTube channel.
Can you imagine if we could just play music, whatever song we wanted? This would be a funny podcast if we could do that.
It'd be awful, to be honest, because we'd get very carried away very quickly. It would quickly lose its appeal.
We would have musical interludes for comedy purposes. People would hate us, you know.
Every time you say a scoop that could be aggregated, we'd hit a track. And
oh my god.
And as the Sultan, if Tony was smart, he'd push Takeshita after the G1, but he's a billionaire, so I don't know.
Why did you push like that?
I don't know. It's pretty basic.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like a German word or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So Takeshita is one of those examples where I think it's very obvious that Tony Khan sees a great deal of value in him.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't necessarily always translate to a traditional wrestling push, and guys fall through the cracks, and we've seen this now.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, just like percentage of confidence, I guess, or hope that he really gets rolling when he comes back? Because he's had flashes, but God, it's been a frustrating year for him.
You're going to have to define what rolling means, to be honest with you.
Or I guess here's the actual thing I really mean. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
What he actually needs to do with Takeshita is get him across the line and actually make him someone that can main event pay-per-views, right? He's clearly capable of that. The audience wants to see more Takeshita. We saw it in the ladder match at Forbidden Door. I think it was Forbidden Door. The people legitimately like picked him and said, we want him to win this match.
Oh, yeah, they did. I totally forgot about that.
So that's because to me, that's the actual goal of this. It's like more guys that haven't been in WWE need to get across that bridge to main event level. Like Swerve has now done it. And I think Swerve deserves a lot of credit for he's kind of the way he carries himself is a big part of that.
Yeah.
Max obviously is there. And I think he got there probably with the Punk feud, to be honest. But it's like, you know, broadly, like Hangman is there, but they like, you know, the way they use Hangman is so strange. It's like, Takeshita should be at that level, right? Takeshita should be one of the top guys, to me anyway.
You know what makes this kind of complex, Joe, is they have so many championships that Tony probably is like, oh, sick, I could just have him go face-to-face with this guy for this, you know, mid-card belt. Like, because we have the Continental, TNT, I'm forgetting something, International.
The International, yeah.
And the world title. And Tony could easily like have Takeshita walk up to, let's say, presumably Darby and be like, I want the TNT belt. You know what I mean? And he wins that. And it's like, oh, cool. I think that because there's so many singles championships, there's actually a decent chance that he's just going to go for one of them and potentially win it.
Yeah.
The question is, will that mean anything to the audience? And I don't mean, because here's the thing. He's a great wrestler. We're all going to be happy to see him wrestling and having title matches. That's going to be awesome, right? Will it mean something to like the AEW on like live audience in the sense of like, oh, this is now like, because sometimes people win things, but they're standing on like the show is no different, you know.
Spawn. I agree completely.
Example is Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. They got that nice moment in Scotland,
Scotland,
but like they're no higher on the card than they were.
right.
Like there's a decent chance Takeshita could win a championship, but like ultimately he's still kind of like in that zone of like good matches. It's kind of unclear where he is in the hierarchy, so on and so forth. So I don't know if I answered your question, but what I think is going to happen is he's probably going to win one of those belts, and he'll have like really good matches because that's what he does. He has really good matches. But when you close your eyes and you try to visualize who are the top wrestlers in AEW, I still don't think his name will come up to the layman. I think like ultimately Darby's part of the furniture. MJF is the top guy. Swerve is a top guy. Hangman Page is presumably a top guy. Chris Jericho is going to be Chris Jericho. He's going to have his spot. John is going to have his built-in spot when he's around. Do I think Takeshita becomes a fixture on that type of way? No, I think he's going to continue to be the guy that is a great wrestler that appears to have great matches, Claudio Castagnoli style, and he's respected. He's not booked in a way where he's losing, but he's not. He's not one of the drivers. I don't think that changes.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's a frustrating conclusion to reach, but I agree. We'll see. Hopefully we're wrong. Mid takes over under 2.5 defenses for Danielson and who? Well, we've got. So you've got Darby is booked, right, for our fresh.
Yes.
You assume one in Chicago? Maybe. I guess not. Max didn't defend in Chicago. Maybe not.
I don't think if Danielson wins, he's going to defend his championship in Chicago.
What about how close is the Washington TV to Wrestle Dream? Is it like the week of? Maybe not. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
Joe,
just one with Darby. I don't know.
I think we're going to get 2 title matches and potentially up to 2 special attraction eliminator matches. You know those fucking ones where like the AEW World Heavyweight Championship eliminator match, like champion versus this guy. Because Tony, I think you're gonna get that. I think Tony's gonna try to get some cool matches with Danielson before he's out of there. And you can't justify like a title shot, so you make an eliminator and Danielson just beats the guy in the eliminator. You know what I mean? I think it's gonna be that.
He should wrestle Samoa Joe for the AEW World title.
We badly need that before he gets out of here.
It's crazy that hasn't been like a thing they've done. You know, like
I might have to unprivate my account to bully AEW on that.
Dude, they didn't even really work in WWE. Like they did like a gauntlet match and a couple tags, I think.
He hasn't really wrestled Joe since like Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
What the fuck? How? Like what the fuck?
Yeah, it's weird. Strange. I don't know. All right, Corey David. I think they're moving Frexium. I can't believe I just said that. Up to the main to face these new teams coming in and boost tag division. What do you think? Calling them up or not?
Oh, that'd be a big blow to NXT.
Yeah, I'm not sure they can do that. TV deal's about to change, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, see, it's tough because it's like, if you just tell me like, do these people deserve to be on the main roster? Of course, I think they're the best tag team in the world right now. But like NXT, like they just badly need them. And you're going to CW, and you already are lacking in muscle on the men's division. You lose a lot when you lose them. And if they could work out a double duty thing for a little bit, then I would look into that. I kind of like Dragon Lee did late last year, where he was doing SmackDown and NXT. If you could do like, I don't know, September to December main roster plus NXT, then sure, go for it. But removing them from NXT would be damaging.
It also feels like with the Lucha Bros, if they can get in a couple months, and they, we presume they're going to be a main roster act, it kind of gives you something for the tag division on one of the shows, right? Because you could feature them right away. So that would also buy you more time for Frexium. There I go again in NXT. If the Lucha Bros were going to do NXT, you could do a straight swap. I don't think they're doing that, though, right? That's not something they're interested in. So,
yeah, I'll take this time now to talk about Penta. So, yesterday's business show, I wish you saw it in real time. We were live on the Raw review, and when all this was going down, like we were just laughing for an hour straight. It totally derailed the review. We were just popping. At all of this, and it was just so funny because people were like informing me in the live, like, "Yo, Penta called you out. Oh, Penta," and like I should have known something was up when because usually if that type of thing happens and someone informs me, my heart will skip and be like, oh no, what the fuck? People said Penta called me out, and I immediately grinned and I said, where? What's going on here? Then I read it and I just laughed. I was like, and it just it really just hits. Like wrestlers are absolute cowboys and carnies. And before you even read any of the reporting, Joe, I don't know when you saw it, but did you realize what was happening? Like, did you really know what was actually happening there?
Of course, because this probably sounds weird because you're a close friend of mine and he's effectively saying you're full of shit. But my reaction to it was just popped. It just popped me. I can't help myself. I know it's probably weird, but it's just what to me that's how wrestlers are supposed to conduct themselves. Unfortunately, it's just like that.
Because to me, I interpreted it a certain way when I first saw it, and then my interpretation became completely correct and was confirmed by 7 people in 3 minutes. Because I saw it, I'm like, oh, so he is going to Orlando. He doesn't want to look like a piece of shit. He doesn't want to look like a snake. He's trying to exit out of AEW quietly without any legal issues. He doesn't want Penta to Phoenix to face the consequences of this, and so he's just gonna deny. And and when he kept doing the whole thing of my present is AEW, my present, I was like, God, I love luchadors.
It's awesome
so much.
And I'll say this, and I don't. If you disagree, folks, fair enough. This is just me personally. I saw a couple tweets campaigning for Tony to tack on that injury time for Ray Phoenix, and I gotta say, I think that's an insane way. There's an insane thing to root for and want to happen.
It'd be kind of messed up.
Look, Pentas should not have spoke as much as he spoke because he's been telling everyone about this for a long time.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, they've been there for 5 years. If they want to move on and their deals are coming up, they should be able to move on. I think to me that's a sound take, right? I'm not saying anything crazy there, right?
No.
I couldn't imagine rooting because his injury time. Let's be real, bro. He would have a year of injury time.
Yes.
I don't want that. Fuck, that'd be awful. Penta's nearly 40. Let him go with his brother let him take his brother with him. It's just I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing, Joe. Is Penta's now starting to get worried because it just kind of set into him Tony controls his fate.
Exactly.
And yeah, he's kind of worried about that. And he thinks now he's kind of nervous that oh shit, Tony's gonna retaliate and fuck over Phoenix. And we'll see what ends up happening. You know what I can tell you, genuinely, is the boys are monitoring the situation.
I'm sure, yeah. That was a big thing. They did that to Brody. Remember, we did that to Brody, and
nobody liked it.
That really upset people because it's just not necessary, is it? At the end of the day, they've been, I'm sure there's been some frustration with how they've handled this. I have no doubt that's life. And I saw there was one line about some questions as to whether or not they'll do business on the way out and stuff. And I get it. I understand it's frustrating, but at the end of the day, they've still been there for 5 years, it's not like they're the enemy,
And it's tough because, so here's the thing, because Tony wasn't going to tack on any injury time. He was just going to he was going to just take the L. But because Penta was so open to people I'm going to WWE.
Which was silly. Yeah, that was silly.
There's a worry that they're that people are going to be this fucking dick. This little fucking, all right, bro. Well, you're going to do this, So that's the thing. But even still, I actually get being kind of annoyed at this guy months in advance is I already accepted my WWE contract. Hell yeah, baby, I'm doing this. And it's all right, dude. But even with that, I think you try to be the bigger man as the promoter and just make the sacrifice and just let them leave.
Yeah, I think it's the right move. I don't think much is gained from just spite for the sake of spite, no matter who does it, All right.
Yeah.
Corey also said. Go for it.
I was going to say that's my take across the board with any company also. So.
Yeah, 100%. Corey said, Oba is godly sad. I feel Tony D is beating him.
Joe, did you see Oba Femi versus Otis?
I did not. I will be watching it though. I have a list of matches. I have some stuff from Ring of Honor I want to catch up on, believe it or not.
Pop.
I want to watch. Do you know what I want to watch? I'm going to do it after this, I think. I want to watch the Kyle O'Reilly, Samoa Joe, Owen Hart tournament match. That's what I want to watch. I just had a feel about it. So I want to watch that. So we're going to watch that.
You know what I feel?
And then I'll do.
You know what you're doing right there, Joe?
What's that?
I do this sometimes. You get distance from a match that you didn't love, right? And you're like, this had to be better than I remember. Like it just has to. And then you're like, I'm gonna watch it back, and surely I'm gonna see something else in this. And then what happens for me when that happens is midway through the match, I'm like, oh, I remember this now, and I remember why I didn't, why I was all right. And you're like,
It's not this particular example, less so. That does happen to me a lot, though. In this case, I just want to enjoy my Wednesday evening. I'm gonna watch.
You could do that with some action with the Acclaimed and the Young Bucks at 8 p.m. Eastern.
I am watching Dynamite tonight. I'm gonna watch Dynamite tonight. I'm also gonna watch. Do you remember that Juice Robinson Samoa Joe match that to follow the dog collar match at the Ring of Honor Pape? Do you remember this?
Wait.
The FTR Briscoes dog collar match. After that, they sent out Juice Robinson Samoa Joe.
That was good.
It was. But I saw his rating earlier and wondered, because I think it's one of those matches where people just decided, like, the crowd isn't going to care about this. But they actually, from my remembrance, I'm going to watch it back, but I remember they liked that match. I don't know.
I remember, like, Juice having, like, wasn't like a fiery baby face in that match, right?
Yes, I think so.
It was good. It was good.
All right, good. I'm glad we agree on this. So anyway, that's our take on Tony D beating over Femi there. Corey, I apologize.
Tony, oh my God, Joe, because I watched like 3 matches on NXT. I watched the Oba Femi deal. I watched the tag main event, and I watched Tony D versus Charlie Dempsey. And it's funny because I scrolled the timeline before I watched the NXT show, and the WWE fans who like love NXT, they were just like, man, this Heritage Cup thing isn't working, man. We got to just drop this. Like, these matches are boring, right? And I watched this match, right? And like, I will admit, this is scaring professional wrestling. Like, it really is. Just like, this is not something you show your girlfriend. This is not something you show a WWE fan. The audience for this does not reside in the Performance Center. However, it was just kind of weirdly popping me. Like, I thought I was watching like Funk and Jumbo, not in terms of match quality at all, but in terms of like the type of like not in match quality, but in terms of like there's this kind of liquid submission escape exchanges that are not even in like the ZSJ way, but in a very like 70s type of way. It's weirdly like it's very like Yoshiaki Fujiwara, the way Charlie Dempsey's just kind of like doing this kind of like British escaping into like another hold into another one to transition and then do a bridging pin and stuff, and just popped the shit out of me. It felt like a match that if it happened on an American show in '99, Dave on the Observer would write, this would have had a lot of heat in Japan, but this audience is not educated on this style of wrestling. Good work, no heat, 2 3/4.
Dude, Dempsey's the real deal. So I co-sign your praise, even if I didn't see it. And the exact example you used was very funny. But yeah, very good.
I said Funk and Jumbo, and Joe was like, what the fuck?
Well, I don't know how many of our people that are watching this have seen that match, but that's like a very particular because my mind immediately sees that.
You know what I mean, right? You know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
like, yeah.
So I get what you're. It just sounds crazy because
it sounds hilarious. Yeah, because I'm talking about Tony D'Angelo.
Exactly. Corey also said they're saying Noah should poach Tavion Hype.
Oh my God,
what money?
So I've been watching this kid, and you actually need to watch at least one of these matches.
I do.
Because here's the deal: his first N1 match was against Titus Alexander. It was fucking awful. You know what? No, you know what? I'm gonna take the full mask off. I'm gonna reveal a behind the stage bit that was really funny, Joe. So AO is doing this new thing to make me mad. So he posted a clip of Titus in the N1 and sent it to me, and he posted it with the wine emoji.
That's nasty. That's wrong. That's wrong.
I wanted to punch him in the face, and I was like, "Is he doing this on purpose?" And then I think on one of his fucking accounts, he posted like another. I think he quoted a Titus thing, and he was like, "Titus is beast thing, wine or whatever." I was like, "Oh my God!" And then he sends me like a clip of him doing like a really shitty Phoenix splash in the N1, like a really dog shit Phoenix splash. You know those Phoenix splashes where like the guy misses it, so then you land and roll after you land.
Yeah.
He did that shit and then like flipped out of that into like a pose or some shit, and then he posted like the wine. I was like, fuck you, you know.
Oh, so he sees us enjoying ourselves and immediately just figures out how he can spoil the beer. What an absolute beast.
He decided, like, I'm going to get the most non-wine wrestler. And he also decided because he saw that I was starting to get some joy out of Tavion Heights in this tournament, right? And he noticed who I was skipping in these tournament shows, and he just decided this kid is awesome. And I'm like, why are you like this? Like, why can't you let me love things, you know? But nevertheless, Tavion Heights was awful in his first match, and what you started to see in Korakuen Hall, Joe, was the crowd is open to liking him, and you see a guy in real time figuring wrestling out by basically just going off his instincts, and the instincts are the correct instincts. And what's fascinating about it as a viewing experience is it's obviously like not, because it's no longer him wrestling like he has to just remember what the producer told him when it comes to a spot or an instruction. It just feels like he's just literally just out there and he just has to figure it out. And so you're watching him face Manabu Soya in Korakuen Hall. And Manabu Soya, I don't know how much of this is just kayfabe or reality. He comes off like he doesn't give a fuck about this kid, has no, like, he just doesn't give a fuck about this American kid from NXT.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, he does not respect him. He doesn't give a fuck, and he's going to be very stiff when this kid gets any close to him. And so he gets close to Soya, and Soya just elbows him in the face, chops the dog shit out of him. Soya walks off and has that face like, I don't give a fuck if he's hurt or what. I don't give a shit. And Heights opens the match, Joe, and he's basically like, hey, man, respectful handshake. And Soya walks away like, fuck you. You know? And they're fighting, right? And this is what I mean by instincts. Heights will get like elbowed in the chest, right? And he'll sell it, and he'll look at the crowd, and like he'll kind of like pump his fist, like, come on, and he'll turn back and like fire back on his end or whatever. And like you just see him choosing when to fire up, when to like make a face, when to do a certain move and stuff. Soya hits him like super fucking hard, right? And he just and Soya basically, like, you could tell Soya thought like, I got him with this one, this little pussy. And Heights looks at him and he just kind of smiles like, that was fucking weak. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. And he's firing back at the guy. And I'm like, this is incredible. And see, by the end of it, it's a good match.
I need to watch, because this actually sounds incredibly beast.
Yeah.
Look, people have every reason and every right to be skeptical about WWE working relationships. But in theory, what you're describing is an example of how this helps everyone. Because Tavion Heights is the biggest. He benefits the most, right? Because obviously he gets better. But the beauty of this is, if things don't work out in NXT, he now has like an actual in Japan. Like now he actually can do this. So that's
Joe, the most remarkable part about this match is at the end of it, Heights loses. At the end of it, he's like, all right, good match, Soya. Soya walks off again, like, don't fucking touch me. And he just walks away. And then Heights kind of stands there. And then the crowd, like, not even instructed to, they just start chanting Tavion, like in Korakuen Hall. And I was like, oh my goodness. And
that's
he gets like emotional
too. Yeah, it's beautiful. And Noah gets a killer athlete who, like, while he's green, he's still, you know, they're getting a guy that, I mean, let's be honest, their Gaijin selection isn't exactly top of the line. They're getting a sick athlete who can do some cool shit. It's just, in theory, everyone benefits from that. Now, again, that doesn't mean you need to think that they're like doing it for like the kindness of their heart, right? But like that I mean, that's the way it should be. And the reality is, every wrestler should have experiences like that. You know, that's great.
Yeah.
So it sounds awesome. I've seen the clips. I saw the clip of Korakuen reacting to him, which is not. I mean, that's no mean feat. That's actually like really, really cool.
Yeah, yeah. And the best part, Joe, is like I said, each match got progressively better.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's
Kano was kicking him full force in the chest in his last match, and he's just kind of like flexing it off and shit. Like I said, just to reiterate again, the coolest thing is watching a wrestler who doesn't fully understand or doesn't fully he's not refined or polished, but he's just going off what his gut feeling is on what's the right thing to do, like, every moment. And it's really fascinating to see him go through the gears mentally doing that, because he's just figuring it out until it's time to go home.
For sure. To the actual point in the super chat, unfortunately, the Noah budget is such that I think Tavion's going to probably try and make the WWE thing work, and then we'll see what happens after that. But we'll see. You never know. Showtown Spurs. Dude, he brings it up. So did you see the Netflix trailer?
I didn't see but I heard that they're doing a Dump Matsumoto documentary, and I really love this show because I think that Japanese wrestling history is so rich, and it really makes me sad that there isn't enough official documentary content or like.
There's so much. Yeah, there's so much you could do. Oh my god.
Yeah, like why is there so little? Like, how is there not like one thing WWE's good at? Their history is very well documented and
It's like
packaged,
chronicled. Yeah.
chronicled, right? And like I always thought, like, why is there no like New Japan stuff like that? And the best you got, Joe, is they would do these little 10-minute the recount documentary things on YouTube. And like they have one
Yeah.
where like it's a 3-part thing detailing the history of the G1, and it's kind of like an abridged version because it's like 30 minutes for the whole history of a tournament. But like those are good though, and like I just think like, man, like where's this for like All Japan Women? Where's this for this thing? Where's this for that thing? Like
The big one, bro. The imagine the documentary series you could do about the Noah breakaway and
yeah,
what like that could be like a 10-part. That's one of the most incredible stories. I mean, still we feel the repercussions of that. You know, it's unbelievable.
everybody went with
Unbelievable.
Misawa except Kawada and like another person. That's insane. And there's so many. It's why, Joe, it's left up now to like these video essayists essentially to do it. And it's good content, partially just because the stuff they're covering is so fascinating. I think his name is Wrestling Colin. He did one on basically the history of the UWF from like the mid 80s when like Satoru Sayama was there with like Fujiwara and some of those guys, to the second version that they did in the late 80s, to the third one that got big and then died abruptly. Like it's just very interesting stuff because like that leads to like the creation of a bunch of shoot style promotions, which then leads to MMA. Like there's so many interesting stories to tell, and it's so disappointing that there isn't more like official chronicling of it. And I say all that to say that I will be watching this Dump Matsumoto.
It should be noted, this is like a TV, this is actual show, a drama, I guess would be the way to frame it. This is like an actual, which is even more of an investment. I mean, that's kind of crazy. They're actually making that, to be honest with you. That's pretty
insane.
sick.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. But Chi-Town said, I don't think we'll ever see a wrestler like that again, but man, I hope so. Yeah, I'm not even like super well versed, but I think your assessment is on the money there, to be honest with you.
Joe,
it's a different time.
Speaking of that, I did something very spiteful, and I only got a little bit of heat for it because I'm a locked account now. There was a clip. It was like Makito, Chris Brooks, and 2 other jackoffs.
Oh, come on.
And they were just like doing this thing where like, what was the guy? Something Masada. I forgot. He's a young dude from DDT. But they were doing this gimmick where like if you get touched by the guy, you're gonna fall into a trance and start crying and on the floor. And so like a new wrestler come in like, I'm gonna come in, and you get poked and he's like, and they're doing this like little bit, right? And they're all kind of falling into a circle where they're all crying together from this guy's magical touch. And I could have just ignored it and left this alone and let the people that like this.
For sure.
I could have done the forward thing and quoted and say, I think this out of context clip is bad. You know what I did? I posted this highlight reel with like I posted this highlight reel with like 70s rock music, and it's just a collage / montage of the Funks, Hanson and Brody just punching each other and bleeding.
But you didn't do it. Did you do it as a quote though?
Yeah, I just quote tweeted that video with a clip montage.
I would actually prefer you just say this fucking sucks. That's just unnecessary. Like, there's no reason for you to do that.
It's just Harry Funk punching and bleeding Brody and shit. It's like Hanson trying to choke Dory Funk. I just quoted that, and it's funny. I got 3 replies. You have a problem with DDT?
It must be said, you are very nasty, Chris Brooks. It has to be said. Very aggressive.
He's
unfortunate. I don't think he's that unfortunate. I feel like
Joe?
Yeah.
Have you seen Despy versus Jun Kasai?
Yes.
Remember how awesome that was?
Mm-hmm.
Despy had a match at the same stip with Chris Brooks a few weeks ago.
Okay, but that doesn't. Here's what I think's happening. I think you're looking at him, and your mind is made up beyond repair. That's my opinion on it. That's my opinion, and I think I'm correct on that. He looks like the kind of wrestler you resent, and I think You're not overcoming that, I think.
He looks like a member of the Hybrid too.
He basically you're saying he looks like an Helico, is what you're saying. Because he doesn't look like Joe.
And I wasn't on Twitter at the time, but I thought the Hybrid 2 was the worst team I've ever seen in my life. I think I reacted to them, Joe, the way you reacted pretty deadly. They would come on and I'd be like, oh, what the fuck? And I'll just switch over to NXT and Keith Lee is on.
I'm telling you, dude, the pre-deadly thing is different. I'm more like a disappointed coach on a Sunday morning at the footy, you know. I'm just like I wanna be a fan, bro. I really do.
You know what's funny about you, Joe, when it comes to these SmackDown undercard guys is you're normally you're very Roger Ebert about pro wrestling, you know, like even if you're not personally like just blown away, if you'll be like, yeah, I get this act works and they're over, and I get why this is being done here, and yeah, this is very steady, or broad strokes, blah blah blah, right? But like you're rarely like with any wrestling show, even if you do think it sucks, you're rarely like, fuck this fucking sucks, god damn it. And for whatever reason, like I want to let you guys know, I'm at work. Pretty deadly are on the screen wrestling DIY in like a totally perfunctory wrestling match. They go 6 minutes and the crowd is into it, and DIY gets to win in the first round of a tag tournament thing to proceed, the big festivities to close the show. And Joe just like looks at this and he's just like, what the fuck? This show sucks. I was like, what happened? I'm Joe. Genuinely, I thought I thought they did another dog food angle. I thought like people were singing or something. Like I thought we were getting a musical, or like someone slipped on a banana peel, or someone's out there in a unicycle, like all kinds of bullshit, right? And then Joe, at work, I go on the Hulu app on my phone because I have Hulu Live. I click it and I just see like DIY doing meet in the middle and winning the match, and I start dying laughing. I'm like, it was just this is an innocuous.
I message you, fuck this, and all
fuck this. It's just a 5-minute innocuous match. I was hearing the crowd cheering for it too.
Yeah, it was fun. It was, it was A-Town Down Under. I feel like I watch them wrestle every week on that show, dude. Every week, and so they come out first on this particular show, and I was just like, oh, who gives a fuck, man? Good God. And I like the Street Profits, but like the Street Profits versus A-Town, I feel like I've seen that match 100 times, even if I haven't. You know what I'm saying? It's just like
Props are good in that deal too. I can't.
Street Profits are a really good team.
They're
really
great.
good team.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Like honestly, they're one of the great WWE teams, and they never get talked about that way because people pair them generation-wise with New Day and Usos, even though they're later. You know
what's funny about all the show?
What's up?
This week on SmackDown, they're getting a 3-segment match. Street Profits and DIY are getting a 3-segment match, and the winners are going to be the number 1 contenders to the tag belts.
So that'll probably be really good. That doesn't mean I need to watch it, but it'll probably be really good.
I was going to say, because you're going to skip this, even though it's going to be a 3 3/4 match.
I think I am on vacation from SmackDown at the minute.
Are you ready to concede that I won this one?
You definitely did. But I still think there was an element of justice to the argument I was making. And I think in a few years when they do the documentary that will be called like the Red Chest Brigade or something like that, and it will be like about the lifelong scars sustained by Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser and Ilya Dragunov. I think at that point, history will turn itself around.
Did you ever see Sheamus versus Drew versus Ilya?
No way. No way I watched that. Surely not. Did I? I don't know. Did I watch it or not?
I don't know. It was on the Money in the Bank Go Home show, and Drew wanted to qualify for Money in the Bank. And it was pretty sick, and I think Dave gave it 4 1/4. And I remember watching this thinking, like, Joe's not going to watch this.
I don't think I did. I don't think so.
It felt like the TV cut. Honestly, Joe, it felt like a TV cut bite-sized version of the Mania 3-way for the IC belt from last year. And that
match is unbelievable, dude.
Yeah.
That Mania match. Oh my God.
Yeah, and so these guys did it here, but you put Ilya in it, and like it's a lot of Ilya fire and chops, and Sheamus doing the beats to the Bowdrin and a lot of that stuff. And I'm watching these men just kick each other's asses. I'm like, oh, this rules. And again, I just remember the moment being like, man, Joe is just he's just not going to watch this.
The thing is, if I actually did watch it, I would probably like that.
It was great.
Because they're good at it, and that's the actual thing about I mean, I have fun with the red chest thing. The one part of truth to what I'm saying is because I do like watching. Like, I mean, like half of Dax's offense now is the knife edge chop, right? Like, I'm not like I just think some wrestlers that don't need to are now trying to be like
Red
sluggers. Yeah, and I just think it's
like
that's Sheamus's gimmick, and like Sheamus's gimmick is he walks forward and hits you hard. Like, I like that. That's fun.
I got a question, Joe.
Yes, mate.
Oh my God, we got to interrupt this because someone said, "Why is Sami Zayn tweeting like Ibou?" And I go to Sami Zayn's Twitter page. This is an Ibou ass post. It's like I gotta click see more on the tweet. It's a clip of him getting locked out about Braun Breaker, and he writes, "So much of what I love about the art of wrestling is encapsulated in this short clip. Unique characters and the dynamics between them, the legitimate threat of serious injury, and the skill it takes to narrowly avoid it. A collective emotional response from thousands of people, sharing a moment in time, expressed uniquely by each individual experiencing it. It's a beautiful thing." And then he writes at the end, "I realize this is a strange way to talk about almost getting killed."
Well, he's kind of, I mean, let's be honest, he's on the money though, isn't he? I mean, that is
and that spot was very striking, Joe.
That spot changed the whole match, mate. I'm telling you, that spot. I thought Braun and Sami was one of those pairings that looked perfect on paper, but they hadn't quite clicked, and then they did that spot. I honestly felt that way. And then I thought the rest of that match was like great, pretty much.
Yeah.
It really was. Sometimes it happens. It just clicked all at once.
I think, Joe, in the United States, save for a little bit of like this in like June of this year, over the last year and a half, closer to 2 years, the IC belt might be my favorite belt in wrestling.
It's
when it comes to what
really
the title matches, what was done with it, the presentation, all that type of stuff.
It's actually like one of the very few things, because a lot of the stuff that WWE do well now, and a lot of the stuff that makes up their kind of revival, is not stuff I have like an attachment to.
Right.
The IC title, it's kind of romantic to me. The way they've actually like made a new generation see it the way that, like, what was it, 30 years ago? You know, like even more now, really. 30 years ago is about there, but it's just, I don't know. I really like the idea. Again, romantic's the word I chose, and I stick by it because I like the idea that in 25 years there'll be, grown men saying, "Oh, when I was a kid, the IC belt was Sammy and Gunther and Gable and like
Braun Breaker."
I don't know, man.
It's
cool.
It's so fucking cool, and like you just said, it's like WWE's WWE. It's the bombast, it's the theatrics, it's the melodrama, it's the characters, it's the kookiness, right? But then like you got this division right here where pro wrestlers can just be professional wrestlers, and I'd obviously prefer like a wrestling product that was all just pro wrestling, but in a weird way, it does accentuate it when like you spotlight it in here. And then on those Raw episodes where like they kind of build the show around a 3-segment IC title match, like for example, Gable, Sammy in Montreal, or this match here, where like throughout the show you're getting video packages for the guys, you get like packages of the IC title history because they do that now. They do it's almost weird. Like it feels, Joe, like it feels like they ahead of time pick a date where they go, this is a like major IC title match on our TV, and on those shows they do these IC packages. They do packages for the wrestlers, and then you get this kind of cinematic entrance. Last time it was Sammy in Montreal. This time it was Braun Breaker walking from the back, and then you get this really good 3-segment match, and you're like, man, and it just, I don't know, it just feels like these should be like compiled into like a DVD disc set or some shit.
For sure.
But
that's awesome, man. It really, I mean, Gunther,
cool.
To your point about it standing out more because of the way it is. My God, the confirmed shoot is here. Hello, the confirmed shoot.
Hello, boys.
Is this the first? No, you guys have been on screen together before, right? Like
we have.
Yeah. Gunther is like how Brett in the early mid-90s, he stood out more because he was within a cartoon show. Now, obviously, it's different now, but that's a big part of why Brett popped the way he popped. It's different.
Yeah.
Confirmed shoot. How are you this afternoon?
All right, so I'm gonna tell you exactly what happened. I've been working. I was trying to listen to you guys while I could. Got off work a few minutes ago, and I had a text message from my good friend JJ Williams.
Oh, no.
And it was a tweet. It was just a match graphic from the Ring of Honor account. which is the Von Erichs and Dustin Rhodes versus Cage of Agony. Now, I want to be clear. I knew this match was happening. You know, it was taped this week, and I told Joe about it yesterday.
You did.
But this match graphic caused me to roar out of my seat, and I'm not proud of this. Like, I want to be clear that I know this match is just going to be a match that they taped in fucking East Auditorium in front of 300 people, and it's going to be fine. But I can't tell you what this graphic did to me. It made me enjoy my life again.
Wow.
And look, Brian Cage is Brian Cage, and I don't have an issue with him. But the other fellas,
Brian Cage.
The other 5 fellas, it's the game I love, Joe. It's what it's all about. You know,
I'm thrilled for you.
I'm going to watch the Von Erich boys hit some mediocre lariats, a couple good drop kicks. It's what it's all about.
That's the happiest.
Dustin's been cooking in Ring of Honor, man. Like, he should be the Ring of Honor World Champion.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's why I would do. Yeah.
Joe, I don't know if you remember this. Maybe I don't know if you were part of this brigade, but that era where AEW was just letting people wrestle anywhere, and like people were just winning other top belts and stuff. I remember in like 2021 being like, "Yo, can Dustin Rhodes win the NWA title?"
Yeah.
Yep. We were doing that on here. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted Dustin to win.
I remember it for me. I did a tweet about it, and it like kind of did decent numbers, and everyone started replying to it with, "You might remember this, man." Everyone started replying with, "Aldis wouldn't put him over." So much so that Nick Aldis quoted me and was like, "For everyone who's replying to this, I would happily work with the natural Dustin Rhodes."
God, that rules.
That match would be quite good.
Yeah.
For guys like us, like I think, like
yeah,
that's
pretty cool.
Like, yeah, like we're saying this, people would be like, 3 1/4, you know.
Those are the best matches.
Have we been aggregated yet? Do you know? Have you seen any What Culture links pop up on the time? Yeah.
I was working on it in Super Chats. I paid actual money just to.
Joe.
Oh, I just saw that. Here it is. Aggregators, please refer to Late Night Grin by name in full. Thank you. Good call. Do that. Yeah, absolutely.
Joe, when Shoot came in, so I think it was Kayla wrote temperature check.
Yeah. Hey. There appears to be discourse, and I've been told about this. I haven't actually seen it, but I've been told that there's discourse about the font size on AEW's graphics.
You know,
to me, that means the temperature's rising.
It's got to be. Yeah, that's the only explanation.
My favorite thing is waking up. My favorite thing is waking up and missing a conversation that I had no interest in partaking in. You know, and
you see people like referencing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, it's over. Okay, cool.
That's the best. That's the best feeling.
Yeah.
Here's one I've been involved in. Is WWE aware of how bad Solo is? This is from Hush. That's so. This is.
I actually have the answer to this.
Okay, well, before you give the answer, which is going to be fake news, no doubt. Matt, do you remember back in the olden days when Samoan guys could just put on a nerve hold and do maybe like one half cool move in a match and everyone would be okay with it? Fuck. Okay, go for it. Okay, go.
Joe, and then like years later, you know, Vintage Pro could just put a cop clip of like, you know, the 5 cool moves they've done over the course of like 6 months and like back to back to back, and they look awesome. You know,
man, imagine people watching the Barbarian now.
The Barbarian was awesome.
He was better than Solo for real.
He's better than Solo. Oh my God, isn't the Barbarian the one that fucking worked Bulldog at Mania 7?
Yes, I don't know.
Someone double check with me. I'm pretty sure that was the Barbarian.
I'll just say yeah.
I was about to reply to your thing with it used to be better, but Alex recently reminded me of the Roman Reigns John Cena feud, so that's just not true. It didn't used to be better.
Alex did a tweet saying that Solo would have been the worst WWE champion ever.
Oh man, yeah.
Which is the most Alex like stance ever.
Vince McMahon was the WWE champion.
True.
Vince's title, you know, I'm not gonna put over Vince. Let me not do that. But I was about to be like, that was kind of. I'm not doing it. Not doing it. Anyway, yeah. Look, Solo's unfortunate, and we're taking it off. He's so shit. WWE knows that he's not very good, bro. Like they're aware. It's just one of those things where Hunter and Co. are like, we invested so much fucking time in this fucker. We can't just like make him nothing now. You know, you got to follow through at least a little bit. And as we discussed earlier, he's no longer the end game for Roman Reigns. So
he's not even the. I mean, really, the end game is Dwayne, but the other end game is now Jacob. So yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly.
Chi-Town Spurs. Nick Khan is outside Ibou's house as we speak. Maybe so.
Joe, as a shoot.
Yes.
As a shoot, not a confirmed shoot, but as a shoot. As a shoot. I have been at Black SUV like 4 times in the last month.
Tremendous. Just tremendous.
Guys, when you clip Ibou talking about Vince's title reign, please crop Joe and I out of the clip.
Yeah, just the Abby. Gerard said, I'm guessing Roman ain't a Punk fan either after he did the make Roman look strong thing, which snowballed the Roman hate. Okay, flag on the play. One of our favorite viewers. Shout out, Crown. We appreciate super chat. Ibou, you need to be very careful how you word what you're about to say, because I'm telling you, they're already typing. They're already typing the headline. Please be careful. Do you have any comment on this?
Actually, Joe, I was just about to say in response to shoots are good on camera. I was actually gonna say genuinely, I refuse to answer this question.
Yeah, because that's one of those ones that
I refuse to answer this question.
I even get the sense that's complicated. And to the point where if you had either guy off the record and asked them, I don't think they'd quite know how to answer that question. It's just a complicated dynamic, is my understanding. So,
you want me to answer it? I know.
Yeah, go on, mate.
Just flat out make shit up. They almost got in a fight last week before.
That was a lie, folks. He literally said he was going to make it up. All right. Corey, Ibou, what's up with this Wardlow discourse? What?
Joe, you know
Wardlow discourse?
Bro, I will make a tweet, take a fucking nap, come back, and people are like, man, what's up with this fucking discourse? And then like it'll be something that came from my tweet that people just started going to the timeline to give their opinions on. I just said that Wardlow doesn't do anything better than Bron Breakker.
Oh, come! People are not actually upset about that. Seriously,
some people are. And then someone wrote something along the lines like, "Guess people are impressed by fast running."
That's such a sick way to diss a wrestler. Just list the thing they do well and go, I guess people like that now, huh? I guess.
God, I wish that had been during the Olympics, because I absolutely would have done a quote tweet. Just gone and find a fucking race highlight and quote with that.
Imagine a guy in '94 like being mad about Rey Mysterio praising. He's like, oh, what? He jumps high and he floats in the air. Like, who gives a shit?
I bet they existed, dude. They're probably in the locker room. Do you remember the stories about how mad the WCW boys were when Ray showed up for his first match? Like,
bro, like
what happened to this business?
Bro, you're getting ready to go out there and just punch a fucker for 5 minutes, you know, and then like this guy's the opener and he just did some shit you never fucking seen in your life.
Yeah,
you know?
It's tough, dude. Harsh says, "What's your honest opinion on MJF today?" One of my mates on MJF, one of the best workers in the world, no doubt.
Yeah, all-time great worker.
All-time great. A blend of Bark and Flair.
Well, yeah, okay.
No, honestly, I actually I recommend genuinely, not even doing a bit. Matt D has been writing, that's Max confirmed shoot, but Matt D, who does match reviews, he's on this kick right now of like he's like standing against the rebellion of MJF, and he's really into like crowd work heel Max. And I have to say, I don't know if it's because I've been reading his work, I actually do think the Kyle Fletcher match was like genuinely impressive from MJF's point of view.
I do genuinely think we've gone too far to the other side now. People are being insane.
It's tough because people have kind of gone far, but then Max also will like do something kind of dumb, and you're like, all right.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I think I thought his Fletcher match was his best performance since coming back, personally, Joe. And this is gonna probably sound insane. I don't even know what I gave each match star ratings wise, but I think I like that match, the Fletcher match, more than the Osprey match.
But what I liked about the Kyle match was the way he placed Kyle's offense.
Yes.
And I do think he is good at like tying things together as an in-ring heel with his shtick. Now, his shtick may not be for you, I personally much prefer when he's shtick heavy than when he's like, I am actually a very serious professional wrestler.
My biggest complaint with Max in ring is that I feel like I don't know who he is half the time, because he needs to start working his style of match and stop trying to keep up with people. He's like, do your thing. Mm-hmm. He's good at what he does when he does his thing. That's my favorite version of Max.
Oh my god! When he turns into counters, Max, out of nowhere, like I don't really like that. Yeah, when he like super kick and he'll do like a rebound lariat or some shit and like a
discus forearm. He did one of those in the Kyle match, and it was like the worst part of the match. It's also part of it's just part of sticking to your guns. The reality is, man, everyone does that shit now. He doesn't need to, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a complicated thing. I think he's incredibly talented, and I think the show is better when he's around and on form.
Yeah.
Right now, I think he's somewhere in the middle where I think he's clearly having more fun with what he's doing now. Yeah. Do I think on some level he should probably be beyond it? I do, but he's enjoying it, which I think was pretty obviously not the case beforehand. And the one thing he does do that the show lacks about him, in my opinion, is he is someone who actually strives to have programs, right? Mm-hmm. And tries to develop conflicts. And look, folks, that sounds silly, but let's be honest, that is not a thing they do often.
My biggest thing with Max, genuinely, I've done so many bits on this channel, but genuinely, Max gets graded differently than a lot of guys, because I do actually think his ceiling is quite high. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the stuff is not necessarily even that it's terrible. It's just that it's frustrating to me, because I think he could be so much better than he is.
Yes.
And that's the thing that is also important to remember, how young he is. If he stays healthy and he stays interested and locked in, Max, when he's 35,
should be incredible.
So.
Shoot, I think Max's best work on TV and just in ring is some of the best American pro wrestling of this generation, this era.
Yeah, when he's at his best, I agree. It's just some of the stuff he does at the same time is you want to turn off the show.
Some parts of his track record, dude, the Wardlow program is
oh my God.
The Punk stuff artistically is better, but from an achievement point of view, the Wardlow stuff is unbelievable. What he did with that.
People are gonna forget it now, Joe, but those angles were
superb. Yeah, superb.
Some of the best series of angles AEW has ever done when it comes to getting people over, and the creativity and variety of the angles, incredible.
Yeah, and sometimes, because he's a guy who is going for angles, he will fly too close to the sun, right? The devil stuff, he got way lost in the sauce on that.
Yeah. I like the Cody too.
Yeah, for sure.
The build to Cody MJF was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Kran said, I think we're overcorrected on Okada not being match graphic babyface in AEW. The dude is now just a straight up comedy heel. Bizarre time. It is very funny. I don't really care, but I think you're correct that he's probably a little bit understated how hilarious this is. This is the norm.
I'm actually kind of blown away that not more people are talking about it, but I do think people probably do agree, because I think I jokingly said Okada's retired and got no pushback from it. So
I hate to be this guy, because this is delayed, but it's just on this specific thing, it's the truth. If Okada was doing this in WWE, people would be losing their fucking minds.
Yeah, and for anyone
having this exact run in WWE,
you're saying that because for anyone who's here, just because Ibou's here, Shoot is the you solely watch.
Yeah, I don't watch WWE.
You gain nothing from making. You are right. Yeah, I think he's pretty good at it. It's just
I'm enjoying him, honestly. It's just it's an interesting decision to make.
It feels like it's a very questionable usage of him as an asset, right? I guess would be the way I put it. But
my honest thing is, I wouldn't.
It doesn't feel like something you'd do with a guy you're paying $3 million to.
Right.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't.
It's crazy, because when he started the shtick, Joe, I actually was like, oh, this is a really cool, interesting new take on this guy. Kind of cool. He has a built-in idea. Tony has an idea for him. He put him with the Bucks. This is pretty interesting. And he was wrestling initially, right? And we discovered very quickly that Okada's gonna have to figure out what his TV tag version of himself is going to be, but nevertheless, I was totally fine with it up until Dynasty, and then the war game, the Double or Nothing build happened with the Anarchy in the Arena, and I was kind of I don't know, it's getting a little memey, and now he's like Ron Simmons, and it's just kind of weird. I don't know. It's just
Ron Simmons' clothesline was better, but yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't that
absolutely.
excited for like Okada as the super match worker in AEW anyway. So this
I wasn't
isn't
either.
a
Yeah,
huge loss to me, but yeah, he's. I mean, honestly, I've still liked most of his matches. I think more than a lot of people, partially because I'm not
You didn't
super.
see.
Yeah, like I've only seen some of the stuff. So
that was your superpower with Shinsuke.
yes, I love Nakamura because I didn't see most of the real stuff.
Yeah, like when we were all pulling our hair out, like what's happened to Shinsuke, Matt was like, let's fucking go 3.5. Like, because you hadn't seen, but the honest truth is you were the majority of the audience, which is why he stayed over for a long time.
Because you're just kind of like likable and charismatic and shit, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm building a Shinsuke take that I'm gonna develop.
Building.
Yeah, I'm building this take and
but like, haven't you like established your stance on him though?
I'm building an all-time Shinsuke take that I'm just kind of working.
I hope it's positive, dude. Don't be nasty, please.
What do we think Okada versus Big Claude's gonna look like?
It'll be tidy. Like they'll trade for like Claudio could have like a fine match for me. He's not. It's been a while for me since he's had a match that like I really was like, wow. Yeah. I reckon it'll have a great amount of heat in Cardiff.
I was gonna say, hopefully, I would imagine it's gonna be a good atmosphere.
I think the Cardiff atmosphere is gonna be what allows it to kind of set itself apart. To be honest with you, because if that was like just a Dynamite match, it kind of wouldn't really care, to be completely honest. But I do think like the Cardiff atmosphere and hopefully the Dynamite looking visually different over there. I hope like you just got that looks different on him.
That building is so awesome, dude. Like this everyone has a great view. It sounds great. It's great. It should be a fun time.
This face-to-face thing tonight is.
Well, that's an interesting one.
So what I'm getting at is funny enough with Claudio, there's one outlier. Like there's one match that I thought was amazing, and that was his match with, of course, Dragon in the Continental Classic. That match is phenomenal.
That's 8 months ago, though.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ.
I didn't forget it. I'm just like this year, it's a lot of stuff that's like, yeah, it was good, but you don't remember it because he's just disposable, right? He's just the guy who wrestles like he's fucking dude. Claudio on his most checked out, easygoing day is still Premier. He's Claudio, you know. Mavs fan, get Scorsese to direct the Vince McMahon biopic.
Oh boy. You hear "Gimme Shelter" by the Rolling Stones as Vince is driving away from the beds. You know, just
who would be Vince? John Hamm? Who are you getting? Who are you bringing in?
John Hamm's a good shout.
He'd be great, I think.
Christian Bale.
Christian, there you go. Yeah, LNG legend Christian Bale.
Could you imagine a guy trying to do character narration for Vince, but having to maintain the Vince voice while doing the narration? So you just hear like, I'm trying to think of something like, "That's Ted Turner,
dude." This film,
a real piece of shit. You know?
We don't need this as wrestling fans. We do not need our friends coming up to us asking about this film. This is terrible.
Yeah, that's a great point. My dad days later, like finding a TikTok and being like, you know, because calling me over like, "Hey, boo," he's like, "So this guy was doing steroids or whatever?" It's random questions.
That's been the worst part for me about WWE getting hot again, man. Is I get random text messages. I'm like, I don't watch it, man. I don't know. Can't help you.
You know what, Joe? I was going to share this story weeks ago, but I couldn't at the time because this person was still in my life. So my job hired this kid.
Oh no. Okay.
And tall, big kid, has a mullet. And I have another coworker who's a wrestling fan. And he ran up to me and he was like, "Yo, you ready for SummerSlam, yo?" I was like, "Yeah, it should be interesting." And then this big kid was just like, "Oh, you guys watch wrestling?" And I kind of quickly, I do this thing where I answer him, but I'm my body language and the direction I'm walking suggests this is not about a conversation. And so I'm like, "Yeah," and I put my headphone back in and I'm like walking away, you know. And he proceeds to then have this wrestling conversation with the other guy, and I'm like, "Cool, you guys do that." The next day, he catches up with me, and he's like, "Yo, what's up, Oos?" And I was like, "How you doing, man?" And then he was like, "Yo, I didn't know you watched WWE, bro. Yo, it's dope, man. Like, it's like you it's hard to find wrestling fans out here, bro. It's dope." I was like, yeah, I watch wrestling. He was like, "Yeah, bro, I'm actually trained to be a wrestler." I was like, oh, that's really cool. I mean, that's really cool. He's like, yeah, I'm being trained by the guys at CZW. Da-da-da-da. I was like, all right. Are you familiar with my friend Mookie Summers? We started just talking about wrestling like that, right? And I'm like, oh, that's really nice, man. You know, good for you. And he's like, yeah, I spoke to Kevin Owens. You know, he says he's going to get me in the PC next year. I'm like, oh, that's great. You know? And I'm like, this is going fine so far. In my head, I'm like, this is going fine so far, right?
Yeah.
But then he starts giving me his wrestling opinions. And I'm like, fuck. And so he's like, yo, bro, like, that's the thing, bro. Like, those CZW guys, them and GCW, they're the best indies out there, bro. Like, it's just so good.
Oh no.
Now, I was like, yeah, man, you know, like they're, you know, GCW does their thing, they know how to create buzz for themselves and stuff. You know, I'm trying to be nice, you know what I mean?
That's fair, that's fair.
But he keeps assaulting those takes, Joe. So then he's like, yeah, bro, like, yo, you know who I really fuck with, bro? I met him once. He's a good dude. He's also one of the best wrestlers in the world, bro. I was like, who? He's like, Joe Hendry. And in my head, I'm like, fuck! And so he starts just talking about
it. Could have been worse. It could have been worse.
Could it?
Yes, dude. If he was talking CZ Dub and GC Dub, he could have gone in some fucking perverse directions. That was
so he starts talking to me about Henry. I'm like, yeah. And now I'm starting to walk out of the building because I've clocked out and he's following me. You know, and we're continuing to talk wrestling. And what the fuck did he say that just made me mad? He said something, but
yeah.
no, but he's just continuing to talk, and he's just talking about how much, like, he talked about how he looks up to Matt Cardona, and that, like, Matt Cardona is the blueprint for him when it comes to wrestling, and that, like, he respects him so much, and this and that. And I said, you know what? Fair play, Cardona. Yeah. I could see you wanting to emulate how he sold himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, whatever. This is annoying, but let me get out of here. So that was the end of that, right? No. The next day, we're working together. My anger is compounded by the fact that he's not particularly being very productive as we're working. But
this poor dude's gonna say this and be like, what the fuck?
Well, no. So here's the thing. Like, I held off this story because he probably won't. So here's the deal.
This clip is going to be incredible to post on our account when this dude's NXT champion.
Oh, can you imagine? Yo, when he gets selected for the PC, I'm gonna be like, yeah, man. So anyway, I'll politely ask Joe to just delete the stream. Like, so the next day, right, we're talking wrestling, and he was like, he starts it off by just asking me what I think about things, and I think he's trying to. He realized that I haven't really given him too much of what I actually think about pro wrestling, right? So he's like, yo, what do you think of, like, the Wyatt Six?
Oh,
and I was like, yeah, you know, I kind of choking him. I'm like, yeah, you know, like, people really like Bray, and you know that. And he goes like, this starts off kind of good. He's like, I'm not really into the spooky stuff in wrestling. And I was like, me either. I was like, yeah, not really. And he goes like,
common ground.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, you know. This is before, like, they had the match, and he's like, yeah, I'm not really into that type of stuff. I was like, yeah, not really me either. He says, Taker made it work, but I don't know about some of these other guys. I was like, yeah, I agree. And then I'm like, all right. And he goes, yo, you know who's overrated, Ibou? I was like, who's overrated? He goes, bro, Bryan Danielson. And I was like, fuck. I was like, what?
That's the thing people are working on. People are building that. There's a little army out there.
And
they're hanging fence.
Joe, he goes, I never liked him. I said, what? And he's like, when he was Daniel Bryan, like, what the fuck is yes? And he's doing like a gesture mockingly. What the fuck is that shit? And I was like, huh? He's like, I was a little kid. I was so excited for Batista and Randy. And I was just like, oh, okay. You know, and he's like, fucking bullshit. It took away Roman and Edge from us. And I was like, Danielson is a great wrestler, dude. He's like, no, he's not. He just does that no-selling bullshit. You know who else does that shit? Will Ospreay. He's terrible. And
oh shit.
I was like, I disagree, but I don't care enough about Will to fight this. But
you said hell yeah.
No, I didn't say. I was in a weird place where I didn't want to hear his dissertation on Will, and I also didn't have the will in myself to fight for Will Ospreay. So I was kind of like, I was like, oh, you know, Will's good. You know, he's like, nah, he stinks, dude. And you know what? That's the problem with. He said that's the problem with all excuses wrestling. I was like, oh, you're one of those guys. In my head, I was like,
all excuses wrestling.
Called it all excuses wrestling. He's like, they just push all these overrated fucking dudes who just don't know how to sell, who don't know how to tell stories, bro. He's like, MJF, like, he fucking sucks, dude. Like, and that's all these guys over there, man. And I was like, AEW is good, man. You know, and he was like,
all excuses wrestling is crazy.
And I didn't even know Oracle was training.
Joe, so the big kicker here that blew my mind. He hates AEW. He hates all these main eventers. He goes, you know what I do like from AEW? I said, who? He's like, John Moxley. That dude's dope. I start like howling with laughter.
He's like the face of the folks that hate. Oh, that's strange.
Yes. I was like, so you like John? He's like, oh, John's great. I want him to come back to WWE. And he's like, we need Dean Ambrose back. And like,
we do need Dean Ambrose.
Hilariously, two years ago, this take would have made me want to slap him in the face. And now I was like, I mean, I'm fine. I don't know. Like,
that was the one you said hell yeah to.
None of these tapes started hell yeah. But he was like, yeah, man, like all I use is wrestling. I don't know, dude. And then this all concludes with him going, yo, do you watch pro wrestling? And he's like trying to like say it. He's like, Noah? I was like, yes, I do. He's like, WWE is gonna go there, I think. I think they're gonna like do like a show together or something. I was like, no, they're sending some guys over for like a tournament and stuff. He's like, so like Noah's like, he's like trying to ask me about Noah and shit, right? I'm explaining him like cursory things about pro wrestling Noah. And he's like, bro, see, that's why WWE is just better than AEW. Like when New Japan works with AEW, he doesn't know a thing about New Japan. He's like, when they work with AEW, they don't know how to explain it to the viewer. But like WWE, like they're gonna really help Noah out with like the exposure and shit. You don't think, bro? And I was like, I don't fucking know, man. Like
Noah video package on SmackDown.
Right. And yeah, so thankfully at this point, I get a buzz from the walkie-talkie, and they're like Ibrahim. I was like, yeah. Like, can you send insert person to the front end? I was like, yo, they're calling you up on the phone. He's like, oh, okay, man. He just dashed me up. He's like, I'll see you later. Oos. Walks away, and I was like, thank Lord. And then 2 days later, I come to work, and I'm talking to my manager. I'm like, are we gonna get any help in the back here? I said, and I mentioned the kid. He goes, oh no, we fired him. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, we hope he's okay. We look. While his wrestling opinions were heinous, we still, the man, you know, I mean, I feel like we needed like a happy ending on the end of that. You should have said, and then he went on to become the GCW champion.
It felt like over the course of the story, you were starting to bond with this character. You were starting to kind of like,
you know.
Weirdly.
And here he is, folks.
Oh, I forgot the biggest part of this. So in the middle of one of these conversations, he's like, yo, so like I got this wrestling podcast with my buddies. You know, like we started it up. You know, we kind of just talk about WWE and like we live react to like Raw and stuff. And he said, yo, bro, I think you're really smart about wrestling. Like, I think you'd be a good podcaster. I said, oh, you think so? He's like, I think you'd be pretty good. Honestly, bro, we got a pretty good thing going. And he's like, we got a pretty good thing going. My last video did like 600 views. Like, if you want, you could be on the next pod, bro. And he was like, you could be on the next pod for SummerSlam if you want, bro. I said, I'll let you know. And he's
Love
like, yeah,
the show.
Yeah, man. He's an Evo appearance away from outdrawing us. God bless him. He's on the verge of the big. We have like 5 minutes. We need to finish these super chats. We need to do that, right? That's what we should do. That's the adult thing to do.
It is the adult thing to do. It's the adult thing to do.
They did give us
Our
money.
super chat pace is like legitimately unprecedented. I think. I don't think anyone has moved through super chats at the pace that we have on this program. Monty has done. The amount of super chats we've done across this whole 2 hours, Monty is legitimately covered in like 12 minutes at the end of a show. Like, anyway, Brainbuster, are you aware that Dory Funk is wrestling in 10 days? I am. Yeah, that's. I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. That seems like a mistake.
Have you
He
seen?
didn't look too good last time I saw him.
Joe, did you see Tatsumi Fujinami?
No.
He posted himself in his wrestling gear, and he looked the exact same. And I wrote how.
Wow, that's incredible. That's extraordinary.
Yep.
Comedy Critical. Wild House Shoot Evil, Vicky Guerrero going to be insane, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it says a lot about pro wrestling, as it always does, that like every other person who's revealed as a piece of shit, the reputation of Vicky Guerrero in wrestling was, what a sweetheart. Just the nicest person. No evidence could shift that. It was the thing. Even in AEW, you'd hear that a lot, right? Oh, what a pure sweetheart. That's actually a really horrible story, indeed. Awful story. Awful
It's really disappointing because I kind of weirdly had a soft spot for Vicky.
Yeah, it was horrible, dude. It was Yeah, I saw like Chavo talking about how, and it's also weird with the Guerrero, like the money for Eddie's stuff. That's like a whole conflict now. From my understanding, is it's really sad, really really sad. Mavs fam, who is a more awkward promo, Tony Khan or Elon Musk? I try and avoid Elon promos.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't really.
Not familiar with him on as a mic as a promo guy.
Musk anyway, just on
principle. Feels like the right thing to do. Feels like the right thing to do. Okay, we'll have to ask Bob next time. He's a big Elon Musk guy.
Why does he post?
Would you care to accept my follow request, Mr. Hangman? This is at Love Bologna. Can you do that, Ibou, do you think? You have to scroll through them, though, don't you?
That's kind of...
Yeah, so listen to me. Remove your follow request and try to follow request again right now. Yeah. And I will
only this account, not everyone else, because that will make them just as this account.
Unless you want to pay more money.
Joe, you know
a bidding war.
Yeah.
This will make me sound like a piece of shit, Joe. But you know what I consider because I have like legitimately like 385 follow requests. I considered charging the next people to follow me.
I'm sure you did. You're a piece of shit. That sounds like something you would do. That's tremendous.
$5 to follow me.
All right, last one. I'll leave that on the screen so you can find that account when they do that. Bam. Hashtag not my dragon. Hashtag we want Hangman. Who is their dragon? Who's Bam's dragon? Ricky Steamboat? Shingo?
Joe, what was he out of that Ray Garian guy? Love Bologna. I'm not seeing you.
This is, to be fair, they may have sent a super chat like 2 hours ago. Like,
I showed up and they fucking turned the show off immediately.
Oh fuck! Here we go. The temperature check again.
Oh boy. Yeah, I'm not seeing you.
Oh no! Right, we'll give this. We got a couple more minutes here, folks. This has been a hell of a time. But hopefully we can end the show with this follow request being accepted. That'd be nice.
Yeah,
this has been a hell of a time.
At about 6-7 minutes.
All right, I'll just because we got so much to plug, and then we'll circle back. If you have any last super chats, now's the time. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Myself, Young Dukes, and Tope Suicide, the lead editor of Late Night Grin. We are doing the Finn Grin. An hour Finn Balor matches. We have Finn versus Carl Anderson. We have Finn versus AJ Styles, and we have Finn and Priest versus Kevin and Sammy. It won't be hard for you to find this, guys. It's on YouTube, the compilation. It's just an hour of it that's going to flow straight. That will be tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. And then this Friday, TNA Hard Justice 2006.
Oh, yeah.
Contrarian Alex. Oh, yeah. Contrarian Alex. Manny the Hooper. Young Dukes, I'm pretty sure again. I'm not sure if Bob's on or not, but either way.
Graphic up, Joe.
Yes, thank you, man. That's a good idea. Thank you, man. Here.
Yeah.
This is not only a TNA pay-per-view, but it is the show in which the Impact Zone caught on fire. This Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern, we're gonna be live for that. So join us. Alex was in the building that night. It should be noted. So we'll have quite the insight. He set the fire. Maybe we'll find out tomorrow. Here's the Finn Grin. Look at that. Look at that. Professional wrestling at its best. Pour some wine. Come on with us.
Is the Carl Anderson actually in that video?
Yes.
Let's go! I thought you were joking.
No, it's the best of Balor, brother.
I thought you were fucking. The fact that WWE were like, we need to canonize this and put it in the fucking compilation,
brother. This is legitimately just an hour within that stream. It's like they've done it for us. It's perfect.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god. It's like they did this. Someone here watches you, Joe. Somebody here is like just following what you're doing.
God. It's gonna be just great to relive that. What a match! What a classic! All right, beautiful.
I remember how happy I was when the Superplex happened.
Oh, it was beautiful. Have you found this account yet, or we're never gonna find it? We're never gonna find it. Are we?
This is long enough without me on screen. Come on now.
Let's double check. What was he at again?
No. It was at LUV. Love Bologna. Love Bologna.
I am on my other phone, which is kind of janky because my main phone I'm using to be in streaming.
Should I write it down?
DM it to me on Twitter so I can search for it later.
Okay, all right, I'll do that. Corey, super chat. Liv flamed Zelina. Do you think she considered A? She just got cooked. The idea she got cooked on Twitter and said, "Fuck this, I'm going to AEW."
Just like me for real.
You know what the new thing is, Joe, on the WWF Raw Women's Division is when they drop, they just go on Twitter like, "Man, what the fuck, man? When am I gonna get pushed?" And then Hunt will put on a match next week, and hilarious, Joe. They acknowledge the complaining on commentary, and like Cole will set it up, and McAfee will like passive aggressively bury it. Like, see, in the Vince days, right? You know what? Like when commentary would speak for the Office back in the Vince days, like I would be more direct and mean and spiteful. Now it's in the very Triple H way of like a passive aggressive comment. And so like Dakota Kai, like she was in the match and they were like, Dakota was very vocal this weekend on Twitch about her standing in WWE. And McAfee was just like, you want to accomplish something? You put in the work. Like, all right. And Cole's just like, well, a lot of people want to, a lot of things, and that's just kind of life. And you got to really just, do your best and be patient, And he's being like diplomatic about it, and I'm like, what's going on? It's just
Tope's right. Like the video, by the way, folks. But what was you saying?
It's just funny that Hunter does see like the bitching tweets, and he just kind of like smirks and is like, pop.
Okay, this is a horrible super chat to end on.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Yeah, there it is. If you're watching, you see what it says. I assume you don't have a response to this. I don't expect you to really have a response to this.
No, I don't.
Fair.
You know what?
So a show's getting too big for its own good when you start getting the bit super chats. Never good. Never a good sign.
This channel should not be having more than 200 live viewers for anything. Like, what are we doing?
No, it should not. It's literally called the Late Night Grin, dude.
Why are there 276 people here?
It's very bad.
Very,
very bad.
That's why I showed up, so I could say I popped the number.
The idea of Shoot potentially looking at the live viewership and saying, "Oh shit!"
Yeah. The one time I was on hanging with Hulbert, it did its best number.
Hell yeah! You know what kind of popped me, Joe, is Russell Pierce's very own Jana. She posted the screenshot of this stream, and she said like, "I'm a woman with great taste." And people in the comments are just posting wine and saying like, "Oh hell yeah!" And then somebody posted a picture of Eddie and Dean, and I thought about it. And, I know you don't love the Dean Malenko.
Fuck you! No. I know what you're doing. I can see it coming.
Where am I going with this?
You lined me up, and then you were going to call me Malenko, and I was going to be, you're a good little wrestler underneath.
I wasn't going to do that.
No, it's wrong. It's wrong. I'm not standing for it. I was not
going to make it. I was just going to say that does kind of feel like what these streams are. It feels like when Eddie and Dean go out there. And you're waiting to see where this is going. This is when Eddie and Dean go out there. They don't know how long it's going to go, but the chemistry is liquid, and they kind of just flow out there, and they're doing all those drop down, fucking head scissor takeover sequences and shit. And it's just fluid. It's just
okay. Has this? UB Andrade. Okay, new follow request. It should be at the top of your list.
Oh, where the fuck is my other phone? All right.
UB Andrade. I'll be buddy. How does that work? Because then it's like I can live with that, but I understand I'm the lesser part of the pairing.
But you're not the lesser part of the pairing.
Well, quite frankly, this show's going to get aggregate. I feel I'm comfortable with that. That's okay. I think Buddy's comfortable with it too. Can we not do that? Can we do that instead, or can we do Roddy and Dragon or something? I don't know.
I'm trying to think of another one that would make you mad.
There's alternatives at play here.
You're Ethereum Waller.
Fuck you. Jumanji Hunter excited for the announcement. Yes, let's do that now. We are 6 days away. Tuesday, the 20th of August. We announce something that will then happen 1 week after that. business about to pick up a late night Grin. And I think it's fair to say that all three folks that are involved on this show are going to be, along for the ride, maybe in some form or fashion. So, good times ahead. Ibou, do you have anything to plug before we get out of here? And did you find that follow?
I did find it.
Good.
So we got to end that on a high note. Corey Brandon of Fightful 5 minutes ago said news on 2 Talent close to signing with AEW coming to Fightful Select shortly. 2 Talent. Would you refer to a tag team as 2 Talent?
It's got to be Roderick and Austin and Obama. What do you think?
I'm just gonna ask him.
That's one of my all-time favorite shoot lines is when Tony said he was going to make an announcement at midnight, and we did a stream. We waited for the tweet to come up, and in the first couple of minutes, I was like, "What do you think it is?" And Matt just deadpan just goes, "He's probably going to announce that he signed Barack Obama."
That was an incredible show.
It was the payoff.
It was the Brody tribute tweet. That's what it was.
Jordan gave it, obviously, like we couldn't say anything, but we were just like, "Oh, that's nice." It was
Jordan Patu tweeted, "Wrestling Twitter has made me discover genres of human I never knew existed."
I love Jordan, dude. All right.
Do I have anything to plug? Of course not. Oh my God, I found out who the signings are.
Private chat. Private chat. It's not killing anyone's business. It's just put in the private chat. So you have nothing to promote. You have nothing to plug. Nothing. Of course. No, I know. Yeah, that's fine. Fuck you for this reaction. This is unnecessary. It's fine. Okay. You have nothing to plug.
No. What's today? Oh, it's Wednesday. I was gonna say I might do a space tonight, but it's Dynamite, so I won't do that. I might do a space tomorrow.
Okay. But check out the Raw review, Worldwide, all that stuff. Check that stuff out. Tomorrow, Finn Grin, the Grin on Friday, so on and so forth. Matt, do you have anything to plug?
No. You can DM me. If you send me $25, I'll get Ibou to follow you on Twitter.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Of course, my DMs are closed, which is a problem. But
if you pay me, I'll reply to your DMs. Joe, I will say real quickly, I don't even mean to be a dick about this because who am I? I'm really just a guy. I'm no better than anybody. Genuinely, I mean that seriously. But it is kind of funny. Like if I look at my follow requests, it'll just be like, "Hey man, did you hear anything about this? Hey man, what's the latest on this guy? Hey man, what's up? I wanted to know your take on this. Hey man, blah blah blah." And it'll just in rapid succession, like day after day.
Well, that might be funny to you, but as someone whose public reputation and image is friend of Ibou of Wrestle Purists, is very unfortunate for me because I now get DMs of, "Hey, do you know what's happening with this thing that Ibou just hinted out on Twitter?" What? Because they know I'll see it because I don't have as many DMs. I only have, I have much. Never mind, I won't make that joke. The DMs need to be open in this business. That's the thing, shoot. Mm-hmm. If your DMs were open, you'd be on color for Rampage at this point. I think
it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Although I am starting to think
is.
there might be money in just giving secondhand Ibou scoops.
Yo, Young Blink said it's 100% Oku. That's funny.
All right. Well, there you go, folks. This has been Hanging with Hulbert featuring the Confirmed Shoot. It has been a wonderful time. We've enjoyed it very much. And if you have to, please hit the like button, smash it even, as Bob O'Neill would say. Subscribe and leave a comment on below this video. What should they comment, guys? What have we talked about? They could comment about.
I was just about to ask, what was the stream about? Like, what did we even talk about?
No clue.
Yeah, I don't know. We ended up going longer than anticipated, and we spoke about absolutely nothing.
Give NXT names for Ibou's former coworker.
There you go. Or guess who the signing. That's also good. So there you go.
Then the report's going to drop in like 20 minutes and kill that.
That almost makes it funnier. Pieces of history.
Maybe that's who they signed.
What's up?
Oh, the kid from Ibou's workplace. Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
that could be.
If the kid does, and I'll say this, he does have good size. Like he actually does have good size. He's like
good size.
Well, it's definitely not him then.
Terry Taylor over there.
No, I was gonna say because I was gonna say a man they signed, but then I thought about it. I'm like, he's like Joe. He's like 19. He has shoot fighting he has like a shoot fighting background.
Yeah, you should be worried, bro. That segment's gonna age very badly. He has a
How-
mullet too.
He has a mullet. He's big. He's like Brutus Creed size. You know, like.
And he thinks AEW fucking sucks, which gets you halfway towards a contract, right? So,
Joe, just picture Latino Brutus Creed with sleeve tattoos that thinks AEW sucks and is 19. Like,
on that note, we're gonna get out of here. Do all the things I said before. We'll see you tomorrow, 2 p.m. Machine Gun Carl Anderson, Finn Balor, WCW Starrcade 1993. Myself, Dukes, Tope Suicida. Keep grinning, all hail, and enjoy this outro, folks. Have a good one. Bye.